two, one. All right, everyone, happy Saturday. Yes, today we're going to have a comparison between the Panasonic Z95B on top and the LG G5 below it, and right next to it, due to popular demand, is the reference monitor, the Sony BVM3110. But that's not
Oh,
all. I hear a voice. We have a special guest today, and that special
what's up?
guest is this KG voice. Where I'm looking for something. Where's the camera? Oh, there he is.
Nice
Ah,
surprise. Hey, what's up?
yes. And we are missing Brian. Unfortunately, he's attending a graduation. And I was thinking, oh man, going solo on this is so tough. And KG reaches out to me literally within hours of Brian trying to, move his schedule. Brian just couldn't, right? He has a graduation event. KG's like, hey, I'm free. I'm like, oh, perfect timing. You're in, man. Boom, pinch hitter. So I hope
Yeah,
everyone's doing well today. How are you?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
And you hope you're good. I know
I
you're good.
hope
You're
so. Yeah,
always
like
good.
I probably the audio or something is messed up, right?
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
one of
Speaking
ours,
of
it's gonna be on like
audio,
one ear
right?
or something. You never know. Like,
How are we sounding, everyone? As soon as I get confirmation our audio is awesome, then we can move forward. And in the meantime, there we go. And of course, this is Jennifer Gala's stuff. Jennifer may or may not be in the chat, but this is all her stuff. I love it for HDR Impact. So as you can see, we're going to go over HDR Impact, skin tones, shadow details between these two TVs. And more importantly, I take special requests. So hopefully there's something happening. But in the meantime, in your mind, if you have a question about these TVs, let me know, right? And we'll
mhm.
try to get it out. But yeah, so audio is awesome. Confirmation. Great,
Good,
great,
good.
great. Thank you, team. So
It's funny.
far,
You have a
go ahead.
comment saying test real faces. Oh, there you go. Real
Real
faces.
faces. That will be skin tones, right? I mean, can you
Yeah.
imagine skin tones with AI faces? You
Oh
thought about
man.
that?
It's gonna be
Go,
bad.
hey, yeah,
It's gonna be bad. Unless they like configure the AI to have like actual natural skin tones, it's gonna be
yep.
bad.
And to your point, Professor Dr. Chilled 9020, we will use real scenes from real movies. Now, I have a large collection of movies on Kaleidoscape. So, if you guys have a specific movie and you have a timestamp, I'll take requests, right? I will go to that scene and you guys can see for yourself what the scene looks like on the reference monitor, assuming it's HDR, right? And then we'll see how they render here. Because let's just say in SDR, these TVs are awesome. They look the same. HDR is all about tone mapping, and then that kind of changes how the faces look in the context of everything else, right? And this is Jennifer Gala's content for quote unquote calibrating. In other words, she's trying different brightness levels. So you'll see tone mapping differences on these TVs. And I'm also using this as a warm-up test right now. Speaking of warm, these TVs have been running for the last 24 hours. Oh my gosh. So this room is super warm. And the reference monitor, I just turned it on like 10 minutes ago. That thing puts out a lot of heat because it has an active cooling fan and it's always running at 100%.
I
So
was gonna ask
even
you that.
though,
Yeah.
oh yeah, even though it doesn't have, let's say 10,000 nit or 5,000 nit content, right? Doesn't matter. That backlight is on, it's ready to go, and it's superheated. It's so hot. So if I start sweating, let me know. I have my little face wipe here so that I don't sweat all over your screen. But yeah, so this is AI faces, obviously, but that's not the point, right? The point is,
Mhm.
as we go through this, I think we can look at the white point a little bit, and they're actually pretty similar. And this is why I don't have the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II. As we saw in the last one, my Bravia 8 Mark II out of the box, there's a split magenta. It's using a different D65 white point. Both of these TVs, on the other hand, have been tuned to D65, which makes it a lot easier. And more importantly, as you know, KG, they both use the exact same panel technologies. So my camera
Mhm.
adjustments will balance to them. And fortunately, the mini LED is not affected by these new technologies, both of these technologies. So they're a pretty good match in terms of color. So I don't have to worry about matching the color. And so there we are. But yeah,
Cool.
and turn on the air conditioning. See, people say that. The air conditioning is on, But unfortunately, I'm in the part of the studio where
Oh,
they don't expect this many TVs and heat. So I have fans blowing, I have air conditioning, and it may not cool me off adequately, but and oh, graphically challenged. If you don't know, great channel, also does TV monitor reviews. Don't give me FOMO. I just bought the G5 and the Bravia 8 Mark II. My friend, I think there's an argument to spend on the Z95B. Now, obviously, it just launched. It's what, 3,300? So, and already I'll tell you this. Let's put the TV aside, right? It's well
mhm.
engineered, all that good stuff. This Fire remote,
Hmm.
3,300.
I I
They
think that's a sacrifice you have to make to get them into the US, though, you know? I really
that's
do.
it,
I think
right?
that's
I
the
mean,
sacrifice.
it's what it is. I'm a little
Yeah.
disappointed. I would not say, avoid the TV because of this remote, but I know the other brands, TCL Hisense, they when they charge more than 2,000, they put some effort into that remote. And even, well, this year Sony didn't do that. I mean, come on, guys, all of you, right? If you're spending that
Yeah.
much, but does that make a difference for you, KG? Spending,
No,
like when you buy a TV, you're like, oh, the remote sucks. That's it. I'm moving to another brand.
not really. No. It's interesting because a lot of people talk about the remote. I mean, that's a bad remote. Like, we have to be honest about that. But I don't really care too much about the remote. As long as it's functional and intuitive, then that's all I care about. Like the Samsung remote. Honestly do love the Samsung remote. It's so intuitive. It's so easy to
Yeah.
use. You know, you could use it in the dark. If you could use it in the dark, it's a good remote. That's the way I look at it.
And that's the thing. At least the Samsung, they have few buttons so you can navigate it in the dark due to the touch,
Yeah.
or have it backlit, right? Either one's
Oh
fine.
yeah. Right.
And
If it's not backlit, then
the
it's a trouble.
yeah, the LG is not backlit, and it's I think I still have to look. Now, before I forget, let me go over the settings real quick. So both TVs will reset to whatever was out of the box, but I'm going to go over the settings for you guys. So in case you get these TVs and you want to kind of do what we're doing, oh, Foam has this great image quality, blah, blah, blah. What's the settings? Well, it's out of the box right now. So OLED pixel brightness 100, contrast, this is all default. Haven't done anything to it. I turn off all the auto dynamic contrast, dynamic tone mapping is off, and let me tell you, it doesn't need to be turned on. This G5 is amazing. Just keep it off. Now, we'll go into some scenes where we might turn it on for bright room watching, but for a dark room or you're in a reference, you do not need to turn it on. An expression enhancer is off. Okay, so we're in Filmmaker mode. That's the most accurate, and that is why we have a reference monitor, because reference monitor is fully calibrated. These TVs are not. We want to compare them out of the box, how they look in their most
Yeah.
accurate modes without any kind of tuning, right? So Filmmaker
And you gotta
mode,
make sure everything is in HDR because sometimes Splitter can mess that up. So
yes, yeah.
I
Yeah,
have seen
and
that
you'll see it
happen.
right
I've
away.
actually
Like,
had
wait a
that
minute.
happen a couple times too, yeah.
It's happened to me a couple of times of electronics. Wait, this feels like SDR. And during our testing, and Brian and I took like 15 minutes to get that splitter into the right EDID read mode or
Yeah.
whatever that is. So, and then you have to turn off the ambient light sensor on the Panasonic. It comes out of the box on. So that's a quick
So like the
FYI
Sony.
to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
can turn
Sony
that
has it
off.
on by default too.
On also out of the box. Okay, and brightness. So I have a Luminance 100. So out of the box, HDR Luminance is actually 70. So I brought it to 100. And I don't know why they have it at 70. I think at 100 it's accurate, but we'll see. We have a reference monitor, and if it looks like it's over brightening, then we'll take it down. But for now, I'll put it 100 because it feels like that's what it should be, but we'll see. Advanced settings. So peak luminance for HDR set on high. Gamma 2.2, out of the box, that's what it is. It feels like that's correct, but you could go even darker. 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, but it feels like 2.2 matches it best, but we can always play with that later. And all this is default. Haven't changed that at all. HDR settings, I set it to auto. HDR tone mapping, even though it says dynamic, that's the default. If you go to normal, it feels like it aggressively tone maps it down a little too much. So the dynamic is the default. I'll leave it in the default in dynamic. And clipping threshold below that is if you have a clipping point. So if you set to clipping, then you can choose where it clips, right? But I don't want to play with that. I want to get this as close to out-of-the-box experience. But then we could play with the settings later if you guys want. And color, I haven't touched that at all. That's how it is out of the box. Worm 2 is most accurate, right? We turn color remaster off, whatever that means. I'll have to talk to Panasonic. And that's it. All right. So, and of course, again, both of these TVs, this is out of the box in their most accurate settings, no calibration. However, the reference BVM3110 is calibrated, so you can see how closely they resemble that. And
I'll tell you what,
so,
I'm not
yes,
calibrated. I don't know what's going on with my webcam. It's like I was pink for a second and it was like blue. I think it's on auto white balance. It's the
you're on auto
DJI.
white
Like
balance.
I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
done that with the webcam before. So if my skin tones are off, blame the webcam.
It's like AI auto white balance. Like, you know what, today, KG, we want you to be tan, right? Or, it's some random holiday. Yeah, you know what? It's pink face day.
Yep.
So what we're looking at is HDR Impact. So this is not skin tones. Obviously, some of these images are a bit cartoonish, but look at the peak specular highlights. So this is 4,000 nits. Look at the clouds. And already I'm seeing
They
that
look different,
the
yeah.
Panasonic's a little bit dimmer, right? You sense that?
I mean, I don't know. It seems like maybe
No,
the
the
shadow
clouds are very
detail is a little
similar.
bit
Yeah, let me
more
see
like
here.
pronounced. Like, look at
Yeah,
the water. Do you see the water? The way the water is there? You should pause it
yeah.
on that image
Here, let me go
because I
back.
think that's
Yeah,
pretty distinct, honestly. And
they're very
again, I'm
similar.
judging through your camera, so
Yeah,
if you see
good
something
luck with
different
that.
than I see, please point it out. But what I see personally is I see it seems like it's a little bit brighter on the
Okay,
Panasonic in the water area. So like I'm
so
not sure what
you're
that is
correct.
exactly. Okay.
So the reference monitor is slightly brighter than both of them, and
Uh-huh.
the peak specular highlights match. So we can say that. And it feels like the G5 is just a touch cooler than the
Hmm.
Z95B, which more closely matches the G5. So again, they're very close in the D65, but this is a subtle difference that I'm seeing right
And
now.
is the LG crushing? It's hard for me to tell, but
Oh, no, it's because it's not their crushing. It's because I had to take
exposure.
down my exposure to
Okay.
catch the highlights. But if we take it up a little bit, you'll
All
see,
right. So that makes sense.
right?
Okay.
See,
Yep.
but now we're kind of clipping the clouds. But yeah, that's a good point. Let's look at, and you know what? It looks like, yeah,
A
the
little bit.
G5 maybe slightly darker. It's not crushing, it's just slightly darker, right?
The only reason I bring that up is because I remember watching your comparison with the Bravia 8 Mark II, and you kind of had to bump up the gamma on the Bravia 8 Mark II. But so far, like from what I've seen with the Bravia 8 Mark II, the shadow detail on that thing is incredible. And I think Vincent even said that it's like some of the better shadow detail he's seen in a while. So
Hmm.
yeah,
No,
it's
it comes out of the box a little bit lifted. So take the
mhm.
gamma down to -2. That would be closer to what my reference is. And it still
Okay,
gives you shadow detail. So I think out of the box on the Bravia 8 Mark II at 0, they're assuming you're going to watch in a moderately lit room. That's what it feels like.
gotcha. Yeah, I'm still breaking mine in, so
Oh, yeah. Then you can have fun.
yeah.
Now, he says that Ozija says the Z95 seems a bit lifted. You know, in some scenes, the G5 is a little bit brighter in some scenes. So I'd
Yeah,
say it might be
like
the
this one right here
opposite.
for sure.
Yeah, well, that's my exposure there. Let me turn it back. There we go. Okay.
Well, I mean, even at that lower exposure level, those highlights in the background, like
Mm-hmm.
they're definitely more pronounced on the G5.
What's interesting is, so I had family members walk through as it's also kind of breaking in, and my wife immediately said, "I like the TV on top." I'm like,
Hmm.
How can you say that so quickly?" It was running Godzilla, right? And
Hmm.
it just feels, I like the skin tones better. And she was saying the specular highlights felt clearer. And I looked at it, I go, interesting, because I thought the G5 had maybe felt like it could pop here a little bit, there a little bit, but she's looking at something completely different. She says, I just like the one on top more. So it's very subjective, right? And she's definitely not
Yeah,
technical. So it's not like, she goes, yeah, I'd rather take the top one home than the one on the bottom. I'm looking to
gotcha.
replace my Q90R. That's why I'm like, hey, like this one. Should we take this one back
Y-
to the
Yeah,
to the house or what? And she's like, take the one on top if that's available. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I got to return this to Panasonic. Now mine might or might not come on July 18, because as you know, there was that amazing price error launch that you posted, KG, and I picked
Mhm.
it up at that price, was at 1600 and change, and it's still not canceled. It's still saying July 18th delivery, so we'll
Hmm.
see. But that,
Yeah, mine
yeah,
still says delivering too, so we'll see.
yeah, we'll
Well,
see.
hopefully, I hope, because I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with Nestroid. It is closer to reference on the G5. The white, the bright white, and the clouds. Yep,
Something
saying that.
about the Panasonic right now just doesn't seem right, man. I don't know.
It's not as bright. Well, you have to look at how bright this scene is. So actually, this is a great place to stop so that I can give you what happens when I let it clip, right? So let's go back to that setting. And let's see, is it under brightness, HDR settings? Here we
I
go.
know the
Okay,
Panasonic
so
has like a bunch of different like settings for their
there you
HDR,
go.
right? Yeah, the
So if I
clipping is
let it
probably
clip,
what you want, right?
right? So it's
Or no,
brighter
maybe
now.
not.
And the clipping threshold's at 2000. So
That's
you take
crazy.
it down.
There's so
Look at
much
that.
customization with these TVs. Well, with
Yeah,
this one in particular, that's why I'm really excited to play with this.
yeah. So if you want it to be almost as bright as the G5, you have to set the HDR tone mapping to clipping. Normal is a bit too aggressive, I think, and dynamic is out of the box. I think this is what they believe is the most accurate, so I'll leave it back on that.
Oh, we
But
got D
yeah.
Nice in the chat. He could probably tell you exactly what to put it
Hey!
on. He's got one.
So
I
yes,
know that.
Dwayne has had a week or two with his TV. So if you have any specifics about the TV, definitely ask Dwayne. And again, this is out of the box. It's not
Yeah.
calibrated. So if you guys want calibration, I could have reached out to your friendly neighborhood calibrator.
Yeah. Hit up
Now,
Dwayne.
now,
Hit
I
up
now, well,
Classy.
let me ask you this, KG. Would you
Yeah.
get it calibrated given these slight differences, or do you think it looks pleasant enough to you?
I mean, it really depends, right? I think if I had a calibrator in my area that I trusted, like if I had Dwayne in my area or if I had Classy in my area, I'd probably get all my TVs calibrated now that I know what I know. Like, but that's just because like I'm on the upper end extreme of things. But for the most part, I think filmmaker mode's fine for me out of the box on most TVs. A lot of the out of the box, modes, they're decent now. They're really decent. So
Right.
one thing that has been bothering me lately is like when there's a little bit more of a red push, I start to notice that more. Like
Hmm.
I'm starting to really notice that more. Like the Sony, for example, has a little bit more of a red push than the S95F, and that's kind of driving me wild a little bit. I'm like,
Yep.
why does the Sony
Or,
have
or,
a red
or is
push?
it, yeah, is that red or magenta? There's something, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's in the skin tones. You could see it's like the faces are a little bit more red than usual. It's
Yeah.
quite different. It's honestly, it reminds me more of a Samsung than a Sony sometimes, because
Wait, wait,
that's what
wait.
Sony used
Actually,
to
this is a
do.
good place to. This is actually a good place to hit this comment right here. Okay, so all right, so here we are, this bright scene, right? And the default was at 70. So if I go to picture brightness, so out of the box, it's going to be at 70. And you
See,
guys are going to cry bloody murder if I take it down to out of the box at 70. Because not only does it not match the brightness of the reference monitor, it's simply, I mean, it's not unpleasant, but this scene demands it to be a bit brighter. You guys see the difference? So because we're able to adjust it, I can bring the adjustment to what I think matches not just the G5, it's matching the full screen brightness of the reference monitor. So at 70, that's how it looks out of the box, right? So,
yeah.
and so you guys can see that. Let me see here. See, if you reset to default, it's like
Is the
70.
Panasonic dimming or what? Like, what is going on?
No, that's because it's
It's
set to
just a
70. It's out of the box,
70.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
Then you take it back up to 100, and it's closer. So this is
Hmm.
why I'm at 100. But if you guys want 70, I'm not going to stop you. But it's definitely not accurate to the full screen brightness. I mean, and this is a bright scene, by the way.
It's odd.
Now, up to
Yeah.
1,000 nits, maybe it's right,
So
but
70
at a
is correct
scene,
for HDR,
yeah.
apparently, according to D-Nice, he'd know. So Dwayne knows.
So let me see, what brightness is this one? Yeah, I mean, even at, let me
So
turn
is there
up the
maybe
exposure.
something else with the Panasonic that we're missing here?
There we go.
Okay, looks good.
So 3,000 nits, right? So this is supposed to be 3. Let me take it back a touch so you guys can see the flag for 3,000 nits. There we go. Now, let's just actually be realistic. You guys know how many 3,000 nit content there is out there? None. Other than Alpha that goes up to 4,000. Other than that movie, no content is greater than 3,000. So this is more of a fun experiment for you guys when it comes to how does it tone map something so bright, right? So that's why this is pushing both TVs beyond what you will ever realistically see. So if I take, let me find something that is like, well, let me ask you, KG, when you're reviewing TVs, how bright is the content you use?
Oh, well, I like to stress test, so like
That's what we're
I use
doing.
a
We're
lot of
stress
Jennifer
testing,
Gala
right?
stuff, right? Yeah, I do use a lot of Jennifer Gala stuff, and I really look for demos that I know are in like high brightness levels. Like there's this one
Mm-hmm.
Sony demo that is ridiculously high in its brightness level. I believe it's like maybe 10,000 nits, like mastering, which is crazy. But
Yeah,
and then some of the other Sony demos are 1,000 nits. I think most of the Sony demos are 1,000 nits. But
right.
I was looking into this, and yeah, I mean, even at 1,000 nits, you can stress test the TVs. I think that's one thing people that's maybe lost on people is like the brighter your TV is, the better it's gonna handle 1,000 nit content because it's not gonna have to do as much like tone mapping, right? It depends on the average picture level, obviously, but that's what I've learned from Classy. He's taught me that along the years is like when you look at the content, that's one thing you want to look at is the average picture level more than anything else, whether or not you're going to see a difference in that capability of the TV and stuff. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
and to
correct
the
me if I'm
point,
wrong, like, but I believe that's what I look for now. So,
so this is the question as reviewers, right? It's fun for us to push the TVs to their limit because we want to see the engineering limit. It's kind of like getting a Ferrari but never driving at 200 miles an hour and to see if it actually can get there, or never taking a turn at the highest speeds possible to see, when does it lose grip with, whatever
yeah.
P0s they come with. But for the people that buy these TVs that never leave the parking lot or their home,
Mm-hmm.
is there a big difference? And so this is what Chroma is saying. The most important thing is getting that 1 to 1,000, not even 1, right? 0 to 1,000. Because if you get like 0.1 wrong, then you lose, then that's black crushing, right? 0.1, 0.2, if that's too dark, that's black crushing. So going from 0 to 1,000 is so important. But we spend so much time at HDR Impact. But I'll say this before I close out HDR Impact. The Z95B does have more HDR impact, slightly, when you hit above 2,000 nits. But I think up to 2,000 nits, I don't know, they look so close.
Yeah.
Let me find
And
something that, go ahead,
because
keep
they
talking.
use different tone mapping algorithms, right? They all do their different tone mapping thing. So it's gonna look different, and that's what the thing about looking at TVs to me. That's the most exciting thing is to see how they do the tone mapping because I'm looking at the Bravi 8 Mark II right now and the S95F side by side, and they really do trade blows. Like and it's not the capability of the TV necessarily when they're different. It's more so how they're tone mapping,
Yeah.
and that's like one thing I've observed. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I'm interested to see what Panasonic does with their tone mapping, how they handle it.
Let me go to the one that we like to use. There we go, the thunderstorm stuff.
Caleb's in the chat. What's up? I must
Yeah,
have
hey
missed
Caleb,
that.
how's it
Oh, what's
going,
up,
man?
Caleb? Hey,
I
we
know he's
support you,
waiting for.
man. We
We
support
all
you.
support you, buddy. Oh, look at that. Caught that lightning.
Oh,
Okay,
look at that.
so,
Yeah, look, that's kind of crazy
and what's
looking.
interesting is here, the Z95B hits the lightning harder,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's actually brighter, and it more closely matches the reference. But how are you going to see that? Unless you
Yeah,
catch it exactly, right?
and that's the thing. You can see that. So when you see that, you definitely call it out because it looks completely different on the stream. I've noticed that, by the way. Like whenever sometimes you call things out that the monitor is looking the same or similar on another TV, sometimes on the other TV it actually looks like that one's closer. But so when
Mm-hmm.
you call it out, that's good because then you can let everybody know like what's really going on. Because the cameras lie and they,
Yeah, right.
the exposure is so finicky, so it doesn't really show everything. And we wish it did, but
Well, and actually, you know what? So as you were talking, it hit me. Isn't the blue a little bit brighter on the Z95B in this scene? So someone
looks
mentioned
like that.
earlier
Yeah.
that the white on the G5 is brighter, and I agreed. But then what happens when you have blue, right?
Mm,
That blue looks a bit more vibrant on the Z95B than on the
it
G5.
does. It looks like that. So right here, it looks like it matches the reference monitor.
Uh-huh. Right?
Yeah.
But again, how quickly, well, how quick is this scene? Actually sitting around, so there you go. Sometimes you can see it without having to freeze it.
Yeah. I definitely think pausing on scenes is the best bet because that's the way you can analyze it.
Hmm. And here I'm turning up the exposure so you guys can see the shadow detail in this one.
A Panasonic looks like it has good shadow detail, like really good
Dude,
shadow
it's
detail.
got amazing shadow detail. And you're gonna see it. We're gonna do shadow details last, but you guys will see. I mean, spoiler, that Z95B shadow detail, that you could tell it was tuned by a professional team tuning shadow detail. They
Nice.
did a great job.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the Panasonic. Hearing great things about it.
And here, I think you can see that the G5 is a touch brighter, just a touch brighter, and you can tell.
Yeah. Hey, can you explain to chat here? I think Rumble Go 1 says the flying turtles look like the reference monitor is blowing out the clouds where the G5 and Z95B has more detail. That's because it's clipping, so that's the way
It's
the reference
clipping.
monitor works.
So
That
reference monitor
it's
does not
cool.
have tone mapping.
Yeah, exactly. And see that's the thing is like when you see it clipping on the reference monitor, that's how you know it's above a certain brightness level.
Yes. So my
The
reference
iPad Pro
monitor,
actually does the same thing, which is cool. Like I got the iPad Pro recently, and I'm like, this is like a baby reference monitor. This is cool, um,
okay, you
and
know what?
it's incredible, man.
Notice the
The full
yellow on
screen
the
brightness.
BVM. See that yellow on the
Yeah.
BVM? Only QD OLED is capable of putting out that yellow.
Hmm.
That is a high luminance yellow that both the Z95B and G5 cannot do. And even though I'm increasing or decreasing the luminance so you guys can see,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter, right? There is not enough yellow in this scene from either TV compared to what should be there. And that's why we use a reference monitor, is to see the limits of WOLED. And this is it. Even though primary
Yeah.
RGB OLED brings you more color saturation, you're still down a little. And even the Z95B at this brightness level falls a little short on the yellow. So you know how it did better with blue saturation? Not as well as the G5 in yellow saturation. Now,
Yeah.
neither of them comes close to the BVM. So it's also color dependent. Now, obviously, if you guys get it calibrated, who knows, right? But as it is, that's what you're going to get. Again, how bright is this scene? It's super bright. You're not going to see this in real content. Yellow should be okay.
Yeah.
And Tadzando agrees, yellow is hardest to bring out on OLED. From my
Yep.
experience with the old LG C8, yes, yellow is very hard because it goes to white. It's so easy to turn yellow into white, as you're seeing here, compared to the
Yeah.
reference monitor.
Yeah, I've noticed on LG's yellow shifts to green. I'm not sure about the G5. I haven't seen that, but on the C5, yellow definitely shifts to green, and it's so ugly to look at, bro. It really is. So like that, but that's something that I have seen over the years. And I don't know if you remember when we did that Samsung display demo when they showed us the art, the thing with the artwork
Mm,
from that famous artist, and they're showing us the shades of yellow that couldn't
uh-huh.
be reproduced on a WOLED the same way like it could on a QD OLED. I was like, man, this is kind of crazy because this is something that I've actually seen before, and for them to be pointing that out as like a top like thing to call out was hilarious to
Right.
me because like, they know the weaknesses of the competitors they're going up against.
I
So
just
yeah.
wanted to pause here because you can see the bright. So this scene, the brightest is the reference monitor, and about a
Mhm.
stop and a half behind it is the G5, and about half a stop behind that is the Z95B. So, but is this important enough to choose one TV or the other? Oftentimes, we get so caught up in the specs and we forget, what about quality of life? What if you prefer the Fire TV over WebOS, right? Because I'll
Yeah.
tell you, it's easier to navigate Fire TV than WebOS. But then LG is a firmware update away from completely changing their WebOS to something that's easier to navigate.
Yeah,
But
can we
yeah,
just say this? They both suck.
I just,
Like
yeah, I'm
let's
not a
be
fan of
real.
either one. Right,
WebOS is terrible. I haven't used what the Panasonic TV yet, but I hate the Fire TV OS. So we'll see. I guess it really depends on the navigation speed, right? But the
right.
WebOS is so clunky, bro. Like I hate menu diving in the WebOS. It's terrible.
It
Like
is.
we need to switch it for sure.
And I think, no, why don't you go ahead and talk to chat real quick? I'm going to move to
All
skin
right.
tones because they're so excited to do skin tones, as am I. So we're going to do some real movies.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna look through chat, see if I see anything. Looks like they're talking to Caleb right now.
He's got quite a good following there.
Yeah, that's all good. Say what's up to Caleb, everybody. Definitely send him your best. I'm not seeing any questions.
They just want to
Just
hang out on a
observations.
Saturday
Yeah.
afternoon. How's the heat wave affecting everyone? Are you hot up there in Seattle, Washington,
No.
Tacoma? I
Nah.
forgot which part of Seattle you're in.
Hold on, you're getting too warm. You're getting too warm. um, I really don't know what the temperature is right now because I have the AC just blaring right in my face. So,
Right.
and that's how I usually do it. To be honest, people ask me like, "Why do you wear sweaters in the house?" It's like, bro, I run the AC like all day. What you mean? If I
Why do you
didn't wear
wear a
sweaters,
sweater?
I would be cold. And plus, I'm really skinny, so I'm really sensitive to cold. So anytime it's just like any type of cold hits me, I'm like, I'm
You
putting a
know
sweater
what?
on. Dude.
My bad. I'm going to do some more HDR Impact only because this movie is
Oh
such a
yeah,
classic for HDR Impact, right?
be
So,
careful the movies now. Be careful with them. Better pause it whenever you can.
oh yes,
You,
let's
you're
pause it before
skating
I
it.
get nailed by the gods. Right.
Boom,
Okay.
right there.
So let me
I
take
think the Z95B is
go.
yeah.
Okay.
They both look pretty
Very
good,
similar.
honestly.
Right
Yeah.
now, the G5 is slightly brighter in this scene, just so you guys know. Slightly, but they're close. But the G5 in this scene is slightly more like the reference monitor in terms of that tone mapping. But not like you
Yeah.
guys watch this movie, so let's move on. Greatest Showman.
I haven't seen that movie. Well, I
Oh, you
haven't
gotta
seen
see it.
both movies. I haven't seen both movies. I was asking really about Pan, but is that bad? Is it a bad movie? I've heard bad things about it.
You know,
So
I haven't seen the movie. I
no,
just use it for this.
just use it for content. Nice.
Yeah. So, is this where we need to bring the brightness down to what it was when it came out of the box? So, remember I had brightness up at 100, right?
Yeah,
If I take it down
Dwayne
to
said keep it at
70,
70. So let's Let's do that.
Using real content, we'll keep it at 70.
Yeah.
Because again, Jen's content is not real content per se, right? So this is
Well,
out of the
it's real
box.
content, but it's like it's not
It's
content that
3000
people
nit real
watch.
content,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
3000 nit real content.
Right.
It's like white windows. Everyone loves the peak brightness white windows. Who watches white windows? I don't care if it's 10,000 nits in a white window, right? It does not reflect
Right.
real content at all.
Yeah.
Let me turn up the exposure a bit for you guys.
So I wonder, like, when you raise the luminance level from 70 to 100, if that's affecting the shadow detail, because it did seem like there was too much shadow detail in those last couple of shots. So
Maybe, but
probably, right?
that
Yeah,
wasn't the shadow.
probably.
That wasn't the shadow detail test, right? So
Right. Yeah.
we'll do shadow detail last because I have to pull out other content. But we'll do, this is a great segue to skin tones,
Oh
which
yeah, skin tones look weird on here. I don't know. Like, again, keep this in mind, guys. The white balance on the camera might not
the
be
white balance is
100%,
all over the place.
and
Yep, don't touch
the
it.
Z95B out of the box could be like completely different than the other one out of the box. What happened? Oh, you exited.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to
Okay.
this scene for skin tones real quick. This is one. Let me see.
Somebody said I'm
Here we go.
interested in audio quality. You might
Oh,
be
the
like
audio
the only
quality is
one,
good.
but
Let's just
yeah.
say the audio quality, it's got a chin right there, and it's got speakers on top. I mean, this thing, they really did a good job with the audio quality. I'm going to use pale faces because it's easiest to be sensitive to green if it's too much, or teal or whatever. But this
Hmm.
scene I'm going to show you guys, and I found this difference because they were so close in other ways that this scene kind of separates them.
Hmm.
They're very close.
Seems
Look
like,
at the white point, right?
yeah.
Very similar. But this
Seems like
one
they're
close
not
up,
getting. Yeah, it seems like they're not
right
quite
here.
nailing it though. Both of them.
Okay, so this is the part, this is why I paused. I noticed it earlier today. Watch her neck, right? Right below her chin, right here.
Hmm.
And on the reference monitor, this is where I see a little bit of green on the G5. This was the only scene where I go, oh, I noticed
Are you
that.
slightly off angle?
No, well,
No.
the
When you
camera
notice it, I
is pretty
mean.
much on angle. No, I'm on angle.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm on angle. I see it. There's more skin tone on that matches the reference. So not like, in absolute value,
Yeah.
more skin tone. It could be off, right? That skin tone more closely reflects the reference monitor, whereas the G5 has a touch of green paleness right there.
Mm.
And then if you look from there, you look back at the face, you go, oh yeah, she is missing a little bit of color, just a little. But this is like, I had to find it in this scene. Everything else looks very similar. So this is to the point where if you get it calibrated, I think it's a non-issue. But people who buy
Yeah.
it and don't get it calibrated, if you are sensitive to green and you watch movies with pale faces like this, you might want to get the Z95B because that's when you see that green. But up to this point, I thought the two were great. And more important, I felt the G5 more closely matched the reference monitor out of the box. So you kind of have to look for it. But
Mhm.
in this case, it kind of pops out. So I don't know if you see that on YouTube or not, though. That's the
Uh,
point.
yeah.
Let me
I
see.
mean,
I
I
have my
can't really see
YouTube monitor
the
up.
green too much.
I mean, it's a little bit paler, less
Yeah.
color. Let me turn down the exposure a bit.
It seems like the BVM definitely has a little bit more red inside the skin tones.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's definitely
Very
more
subtle.
natural looking, and the other ones don't quite have that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm watching through YouTube. You're seeing it in real life. So
Right,
if you
right,
don't see
right.
the same thing, please point it
Well, and
out.
I also have the YouTube uh, up here as what you guys are seeing. So, but that's why I had to put this out for skin tones, right? Just to give you
Yeah.
guys. Otherwise, if you look at this person, they both look great because why? Unless you're sensitive to certain tones, it looks fine. So,
Oh,
oh,
I'm a little
and
I'm a
that's why
little
certain
loud.
pale
Let me turn
faces,
myself down.
How about that guy with the red face?
I just listened to the stream a little bit now. I'm too loud, I think. I'm gonna turn myself down.
Okay.
I sounded like the voice of God for a second. When I listened, I was like, dang. I don't know what I did to my voice. What happened? Okay, good.
All right. So I
I think.
think, let me
Please
see.
let us know. I'd rather be much quieter than you than like overpowering you because this is your
Like,
stream and
ah,
yeah, I want you to
yelling
take
and
the lead.
screaming.
I need you to talk over me, not me talk over you.
I'm trying to think here.
Because you know how it is when you stream, like you
Hmm.
talk and it's like delayed and it's like it makes it seem like we're both rude, but we're not. It's just a delay.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is this the one? I saw F1 yesterday. I really liked it.
Oh, how was that? Yeah.
It's a
Good.
great movie.
Nice. I might have to check it out. I haven't went to the movie theater in a long, long time. Ever since I started reviewing TVs. I'm like, honestly, like I got the stuff at home. I'm good.
And I have to say, Brad Pitt aged very well. He looks his age. It did not look like he attempted to be younger, like our star here. Let's see. Okay. I think both are fine for skin tone, honestly, other than that last scene. But let's
Yeah,
go
it
into
looks
shadow
fine.
detail real quick. And let me hit some super chats. Oh, but before we hit a super chat, a quick shout out to our sponsor, RUIPRO. I use RUIPRO HDMI optical cables. Everything is connected with RUIPRO. I've been using them since 2018, 2019 when I started the channel. So that's why I recommend them. I think they're great for optical cables. And why optical? I run very long cable runs wherever my kaleidoscope is or all this stuff. I know shorter cables, 9 feet long, copper is fine, up to 9 feet. I do that for the shorter cables because I have so many long runs between all the TVs I have. Optical cable, RUIPRO. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. But because I get a lot of questions about what cable to use, FOMO for over 9 feet, I use these. There we go. Do you have long runs of cable, KG?
Yeah, I actually have those. So, yeah, I use the opticals. They're good.
Well, because copper, first of all, if it's over 9 feet, it gets really thick and heavy. More importantly, it puts a strain on your display or TV's HDMI power bus because it's the
Yeah.
TV side that powers the signal. And longer than 9 feet, it's going to overheat that power bus. So any optical doesn't have to be the one that I use, but it's
Yeah.
independently powered. It has its own plug to the USB, and that's what helps and takes the load off of the power bus on the HDMI.
Yeah, I think the 50-foot one, if you need a 50-foot run, optical is the way to go, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
all I'll say on that.
installations,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it's the only way you can do it. I don't think you could get any other way, right? As far as I
Right.
know. Like you have to go optical if it's 50 foot. Otherwise, there will be issues.
So actually, this one, so this is what I've noticed. So I'm just going to pause. I'm going to pause. I'll show you guys. So this is right. Okay. So let me turn up the exposure.
I remember the first time you did this before the G5 update. This scene looked terrible on the G5.
Oh yeah, no, it was not good.
I was like, dude, please fix this because if I get this TV, it's gonna be a bloodbath.
When there is a bright light in the scene, I have found that the G5 is fine. Like let's say, we
Yeah.
have some brightness, you have shadow. It's when it's all dark with very little brightness that I think the G5 starts to struggle. So like this
To
one,
you in person, do they all look pretty similar here? Because I'm just trying to find out on stream. I think this might be a white balance thing.
it's a white balance thing.
Okay.
The Panasonic is slightly off compared to the G5 because you look
Right,
at her
because it
skin
looks
tone.
green on this on the stream. So I want to point that out to everybody that if it doesn't look green in what you're seeing, it's just a camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me
Just so
go on
you
to the
guys
one
know.
where they,
I had to get in front of that. I had to get, you know how it's
yeah,
gonna
Gay
be
goes,
in the chat.
oh, it's green or it's too
It's so green.
magenta. Yeah.
Why is the TV so green?
Yeah, that's rough. Okay. So this one, not a problem. This part, they fixed this one pretty good, actually. So let me
Oh
go to
wow.
the one that I know that
I
it
do
struggled with,
remember
Game of
this. I
Thrones.
do remember that scene, and yeah, it looks a lot
So
better
this
now.
one is going to struggle, the Game of Thrones one. Turn it up. Here we go.
So you still think it is crushing a little bit, huh?
Not crushing per se, but rather it's not bright enough. So
Oh, okay.
rather than call it, I mean, it's there. So I'll turn up the exposure, you'll see the detail. It's just not bright enough. So however they did their gamma, I guess, the tone curve,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
right as you see that. Okay.
So basically, they're masking a problem that they can't fix, maybe?
I mean, why can't they? Look at the Panasonic,
Yeah,
right? The Panasonic
right.
matches the reference perfectly, and the Sony could do that too. If you take it to -2, at 0, it's a bit too bright, but at -2, it looks just like the reference monitor in terms of shadow detail. And the G5, it's there, but it's too dark, right? If I
Well,
turn
yeah.
up the exposure
Well,
a bit more,
FOMO, you ask about like, well, why can't they fix it? Well, remember they didn't fix the G3.
so you see,
Like,
it's there,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's there
right.
in the distance, but you're not going to see that because in normal viewing, it's not
Yeah.
as visible. Let me trying to match it to, there we go. So reference monitor, Panasonic,
Hmm.
this is what we call 0.5 or less nits. In a dark room, you'll see this. And so let's talk about bright room. Oh, I'm in a bright room. Does it matter? Yeah, in a bright room, they will all look too dark.
This
So
the
on,
HDR copy?
yes, this is the HDR
Okay.
version.
Have you
So in a
compared the
bright,
HDR version of this and the SDR version of this? I'm like really curious, like which one is gonna do better on this scene.
yeah,
I think HDR would, but I don't know. You never know, right? I remember when they
never
first
know.
aired this, everybody's like, I can't see anything.
So with dynamic tone mapping on, suddenly it's
Yeah.
there. Oh yeah,
Oh
everything is
god.
there, right? But
It's terrible.
this is why
No.
in a bright room, it's
Turn it
fine. You'll
off.
see it. Yeah, that's dynamic tone mapping. But people will have it on in a
Yeah.
bright room for this scene. You
It
can't
makes sense.
watch
In a bright
Game
room,
of
it makes
Thrones
sense.
with dynamic tone mapping off in a bright room. You just can't.
Yeah. Oh man, I've learned to really hate dynamic tone mapping. Like, unless you were in a bright room, like you said, please just keep that off. Like, do yourself a favor, keep that off.
And then we'll go on to the next scene here. So this one isn't
Oh
as
man, look
bad.
how good it looks on the reference monitor. Oh my god,
I know, right? So my exposure is a little bit too high. Let me take it
it's crazy,
to,
dude. You
okay.
can just see everything on the reference monitor.
Yeah, you can.
And these WOLEDs are struggling. They're like, nah, bro. I wonder, like, do
So
you think
this
there's a
one
lot
is
of
not
things
bad.
going on?
Was that?
Do you think there's a lot of things going on trying to mask some of the problems, some of the fixes that they've implemented with these
So
near
here's the
black scenes,
question.
you know?
So the question is, what are they trying to mask because the Panasonic can do it?
Well,
Well,
that's what I'm
I mean, if
saying,
it's a
like,
panel issue, right? So I
yeah.
don't
I
know.
don't
I
think
don't.
it's a panel issue anymore.
No, it's not a panel
Like
issue.
that
The
one's
fact that the
yeah.
Panasonic could do it, and this is where they would lose the shootout. So this fact, and we're going to hit your super chats next. I know I'm backed up. So this is where you lose the shootout. Is this reflects more scenes in real life than 3000 nit content, even 2000 nit content. Dark scenes from so many movies have dark scenes and HDR now that they've been remastered, right? And so, all right, well, we'll let this sit here and we'll answer the super chat. Thank you for your patience. Max Overdrive, a regular. Yep, Panasonic is as good as the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II processing and shadow detail, brighter than the Sony as the G5 is. Please make an 83-inch. Yes, that would be great. I agree with you. Thank you so much, Max, for that super chat.
I really don't know why they didn't.
Maybe because there's a minimum order.
I know exactly why they didn't, but
they're like, can you sell 1,000, 10,000 of these? We don't think so. Oh, then forget it. Don't order it. Thank you, Max. And coming up, Christian. Hey, another regular. Thank you so much, Christian. FOMO always says below 1,000 nits, TVs are similar, except here. Well, except the last scene.
Yeah.
So the last scene below 1,000 nits, not so much. But yes, they should be similar, right? But I would not buy a 2500 nit OLED and keep dynamic tone mapping off. I want it hitting its peak. And this is why it's subjective. There is no wrong answer, right? You do you, my friend. So this is a great one where you can see a little bit of that lost shadow detail on the G5. This is why I think it's fine for YouTube. Is luminance differences, spot on. I think YouTube captures that. White point differences, color difference. Like, look right here. You know how we said that the G5 looked more accurate? Well, here, why does the G5 have a purple tint? And the Z95B near black is more accurate, more similar, right? That top right-hand corner.
Yeah.
Right? So and I see it here, so it's not my camera. I can see it. So there's a color shift issue. That's a problem on the G5 still. As you lose luminance, the color is no longer accurate. Now, in a 10 nit scene, we notice the G5, a more accurate white point, right? Matching the BVM. But as you get closer to dark, it's like, what is that? Purple, right?
See what?
So that's interesting.
Can I point out something? What I see, and I want to know if you see it too. Okay. The yellow in the lights. I see it on the Z95B in the reference monitor, but it looks like it's white looks like it's more white on the G5. Do you see that, or is
which yellow?
Talk
about the lights.
Well, just the lights, yeah. Do you see how they're just seem to be a little bit yellow compared to?
So let me walk over there. You tell me. So you're talking about this over here?
Yep.
Okay, so let me see. And you're saying that it's a bit more yellow on the G5?
No, on the BVM and the Z95B. It just seems like the G5 is not the same color.
Definitely the blues are off. You're losing blue, a lot of blue. And that leaves behind a monochromatic. So you lose blue for sure. This is accurate because this is blue. The yellows are still there. I'm looking at head-on just to make sure. Yellows aren't bad. So it could be the
white balance.
The white balance, maybe YouTube, but it looks very similar. So the yellows, so the G5 is fine with the yellows, right? Okay. The red saturations and stuff. It's the blue saturation that is completely lost in this scene. And again, this is probably 50% of the scenes out there. This is what you're going to see, because anything over 2,000 or anything over 1,000 nits, this is more common. So on these darker scenes, you're losing that blue, which is and I just saw this. I just want to say before.
You do a really good job at showing shadow detail on camera. It's so hard to do, and people need to understand that. Like, you have to constantly change your exposure for each scene when it comes down to shadow detail. And if you go too far, you're going to be lifting the image. If you go too low, you're going to be crushing the image, and it's not actually what's on the TV. So, just keep that in mind when you're watching these videos.
It's always playing with exposure. And sometimes we forget when we capture a scene, we go, oh, wait a minute. I didn't realize it made it look like it's crushing, when reality is I just wanted you to see the specular highlights, but people are noticing something else instead, right? Christian, another super chat. Thank you, my friend. FOMO, you obviously don't remember that one scene, White, from Matrix Reloaded. Is he talking about that bright room scene?
I think he is. Maybe not. That's not in Reloaded though, is it? That's in the
You know,
second one, the
I'm
first one.
the first one, I think,
I don't know.
but
Yeah, I think it's in the
yeah,
first one.
dynamic tone mapping definitely raises the brightness. And guys, that's what the settings are there, right? Some
I seen
people
that movie
enjoy.
like so long ago, and I don't even remember it. Like, I need to rewatch it. Yeah, I need to rewatch those movies.
Well, what's funny is it was before our time, the
Yeah,
2001 Space Odyssey, and so many of the old folks. I'm going to say old folks, respectfully. This is the best science fiction movie ever. And in my generation, it was Star Wars. Star Wars is the best ever. And it's interesting. I need to watch 2001 Space Odyssey because I'm
I
hearing so many of the people who are the generation before me say, no, we've seen Star Wars. It's 2001 Space Odyssey. So
man,
I
I'm
don't know.
pretty biased towards Signs. I really love Signs. I think Signs is probably one of the best movies I've ever seen. I think, and it's crazy because like
Is that the
that
one with Bruce
direct.
Willis?
Bruce
Signs?
Willis, is he in that movie? I don't think so. No, it's Mel Gibson and
Mel
a
Gibson. That's
young
right.
Joaquin Phoenix, and man, I just love that movie. It's M Night Shyamalan, and that's a
Yes,
director that I have a
that's the
love hate
director.
relationship with. You know, he has some
Sixth
movies out
Sense.
there.
That's the only I remember from him that I
Avatar,
thought
we
was
don't
really
talk
good.
about that. We don't talk about Avatar. Okay, we don't talk about the Last Airbender. We don't talk about that. That didn't happen. But
And
but yeah,
yeah,
and
I know.
he's got some 4K remasters out there, HDR, incredible, incredibly done. So if you have a chance to check those out, definitely.
And of course, let me kind of move this forward because now the G5 is just dimming over time. Like, oh wait, that's a static image. But you notice the Panasonic did not dim, even though I had this on a static image, right? Thank you, Dennis, for the super chat and your patience. Shout out from Eric and I. Keep it up, guys. Why, thank you for watching. And last super chat. Which would you pick? The 98-inch TCL QM8K or the 83-inch G5? It's for my basement for movies, entertainment, sports area, both around the same price. Oh man, 98-inch movie, entertainment, sports.
I hate these questions. You know why I hate these questions?
Why is that?
98-inch versus a 83-inch. I honestly don't know how far you sit, bro. You got to tell us how far you sit because this is the thing. Is like when people ask these questions, please let us know how far you sit, and we'll help you out a little bit better than this because it's not. You know, if we're talking about quality, obviously it's the G5. Like a mini LED is not coming close to an OLED TV. Let's be real. And so when you're looking at 98-inch versus 83-inch, it's going to depend on where you sit. So if you sit really far away, get that 98-inch, enjoy sports, entertainment, movies, enjoy it. It's going to be a spectacular thing to look at. But
Yep,
if you have a dark cinema room and you're sitting a little bit closer to it, go with the 83-inch G5.
I think so too. I think
Yeah.
98-inch at this point, mini LED, obviously it's not OLED yet, but it's so good. And I even have it. I took a picture of this. I wish I could put it up. I was at Costco, and you know how they have all the displays, and they happen to have all in one sitting the 98-inch. Actually, you know what? I think I can throw it up right now because I took a picture just to share with you guys this. Let me see if I can put it on right now.
Yeah. And
Okay, there it is.
it's crazy how the G5 is definitely struggling in these scenes.
Oh, it is crazy, right?
Yeah. And it's been the same complaints that I've heard from everybody so far. It's like this is definitely like you pointed out, this is where they will lose in the shootout.
They have time, all right? The
Yeah,
shootout
they
is
have time.
now
Yeah.
July, was it
Get on
24th?
it, LG.
Something like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know you're watching. I know you're watching, LG. You always somebody's always watching, right?
Oh,
Like
they're watching.
Samsung's watching, Sony's watching. We know you're watching. Yes. Um
Okay, so here we are. In the back is the OLED, that little TV. You see that? Let me
mhm.
pop this. Yeah. So that little TV is an OLED. Right next to that 100-inch is the Hisense U70, and to the left of that is the QM6K 98-inch.
Man,
And
so
I'm like, okay, if I saw this, I'm like, why am I getting an OLED again? And they
Yeah,
look
no.
so similar. And I happen to capture on the same feed because sometimes they change the feeds and it goes crazy, right? Same feed, same image. I'm like, I'd walk away with a 100-inch Hisense right now because I was asking my wife, well, what do you think? She goes, they all look the same. Where's the OLED? And the minute she goes, which one's the OLED? You got a problem. And I know
Yeah.
you're in a Costco, but this is the reality. This is how you're selling TVs now, right? So when you
Hmm.
walk in and you see that Samsung OLED or LG OLED, and that is a 77-inch, I think. Like,
Yeah.
dude, like, look how, and it's far away. That's why it looks tiny. It's like another 12 feet behind. But you see that image quality, and that happens to be right behind it. If you were to walk around the corner, you'll forget what you saw here. You walk back and forth, and you're like, okay, you know what? I'll just take the 100 inch. I don't know why I'm playing for this OLED, right? And
Yeah.
so, to your point, Sinilo, which would you pick? I take the 98-inch QM8K. I get the immersion, I get the brightness, I get it. The G5 as a gamer, if you had gaming in there, I'd say the G5, right? Trouble-free gaming. But otherwise, the QM8K. I mean, and I put PS5 Pro in it. I thought it looked great. Yeah,
12 feet, he said.
12
That's
feet.
all. Yeah,
Yeah, you got to
he
get the
followed
98
up on
inch.
a super chat,
Yeah,
but
you're far. Get the 98 inch and enjoy the hell out of it.
yeah, I would definitely go 98-inch on that one.
And
People don't
also,
understand 12 feet is pretty far away. That's pretty
it
far
is.
away.
It is.
I had people tell me they sit like 12 feet from a 65-inch. I'm like, "Well, what are you doing? Like, go with the cheaper TV and get a bigger size. Because if
Yep.
you sit that far away from a good TV, you're not gonna really see differences."
Nope. Now let's see a little bit of what's it called? Little Netflix action. Let's see. Extraction. So this was a scene that was a little bit dark, I think. So let me forward to the, I think it was here. So they fixed it. Oops. Let's try this again. So this one,
Mm-hmm.
it was crushing the shadow detail before the fix. And the G5 now has fixed it right here, right?
Yeah.
Now I mean, right behind his head, yeah, it's slightly darker, but overall, I think it's fine. It's, I mean, you could argue,
Passable.
yeah, it's because I know there's supposed to be some, you're supposed to see a little bit of the wall behind him right here.
Mm.
And here it's a little bit too dark. Here you can still see it, but this is still a lot better than it was before the firmware. And this is what we're talking about. This is the 99% of the stuff you watch, right?
Yeah.
Let me turn up exposure a bit more so you guys can see. So it's there, right? You see that color behind his ear. It's just slightly darker than the other TVs. So let's see a little bit of The Witcher. Some more skin tones for you guys.
They both look good on this one.
There you go. Yeah, they both look close enough. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say one is, they look so similar. So, you don't see that green here.
No, probably not.
There we go. Okay. Thank you for that super chat. Fitter Byte 5844. Does the panty suffer from the same banding and crushing issues with HDR10 that LG has been trying to fix? So I don't see actually the answer is no. Definitely not the crushing issues. LG
Yeah.
needs to still fix, right? And we're seeing it in the last few scenes. The banding is very content specific. So
Hmm.
I'm going to have to study that more, but I
Do
don't
you have that
find
scene from Green Knight
the Green
that
Knight.
everybody used? Yeah, there's like this. It's like a red
Is
background
that
or
is that a
something.
is that a Netflix movie or?
No,
What is
it's a
that?
movie. I don't know what green.
I don't
I
know
thought
how they
maybe you
find this
had it,
thing.
but
No.
yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's called The Green Knight. Some dude flying through the air, it looks like, and there's a red black background. I don't know. I've never seen the movie. I just see screenshots of it, and there's some
And
bad bending on that on the G5. Well, there was. I don't know. I haven't seen it since.
oh, wait, but we have an answer. Dwayne Davis says,
There we
banding on the
go. Banding.
Z95B? No. And I'll take Dwayne's word for it. He
Yeah.
did the testing. Sounds good to me because it's so, I mean, you got to find the right content. And he found it and it doesn't have it. So, oh, and again, you guys just tuned in. Shootout, right? So Dwayne is doing Lord's work here. He's calibrating all the TVs. He's got the panty at his place. I mean, I do not envy Dwayne at all. So to make sure the TVs have time, Dwayne has time to get to know these TVs very well. The shootout is now July 20. Let me move this over here. Let me get my calendar up. It's now July 26. So I'll be there on the 25th to set up and stuff, my stream for the shootout. But July 26th is the shootout. It's one day. And by the end, we'll see who wins this year. So it's going to be fun. I think there's a few changes in store to make it more reflective of the TV's performance given the latest and greatest content that we have today. So yeah, I cannot wait for that. That's it, July 26th. It'll be fun, guys. It'll be day long, all day, and we'll have a nice variety of judges there. Definitely will be fun.
Yeah. I'm disappointed I won't be able to make it. I was actually invited to be a judge, but I can't make
Yes,
it.
yeah, we were asking if you were
Yeah.
able. Yeah, I'm sorry,
It's
man.
unfortunate. Yeah, there's a lot of family stuff going on right now. Sucks. But maybe next year. Hopefully next year.
How is the heating on the Z95B? So, given they're the same technology, both of them are going to exude heat, obviously, right? But it feels like the heat on the Z95B, a lot of it is, some of it is blowing out the back or rising out the back. There's no active fan, but it's rising out the back. Whereas the G5, it's split between the front and the back. It's slightly warmer on the front on the Z95B. And when I say slight, I'm just using the back of my hand. There's nothing scientific. I don't have the heat gun that people like to use. Maybe we should get one, right? But
Yeah.
if you were to compare the two, then yeah, that's what's happening. So let me put it back on YouTube so that the Witcher doesn't get mad at me. Oh, look at
I would love to
that.
ask this question. I don't know if Dwayne's in the chat, but
He
I would
is. I
want to
just
know,
saw him.
like, when it comes down to the TVs that have the heatsink versus the ones that don't, is there a noticeable difference in certain areas that you like see in terms of how long the TV can sustain
Actually,
at
you
a
know
certain
what? I'll
ATO?
tell you. I tell you what we just noticed. The ASBL on the G5. You notice that? Every time I hold an
Yeah.
image, the Z95B did not dim. I just
Okay.
saw
So
it dim 3 times. Once with the, and these were dark scenes. It was dimming in Game of Thrones. That's why I had to keep the scene moving. It was dimming just now with The Witcher.
yeah.
And so the G, I mean, and we held it long though. I mean, it does what it needs to do. But in HDR, at those bright scenes, it senses the static. And like, you know what? This is wrong. We're going to dim. Z95B did not dim. And I think that's the benefit of the the cooling system on the Z95B. So yes, definitely saw that just now.
Yeah, I think that cooling system is awesome. I saw it at
I think
CES,
so.
and when they demonstrated, I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "That's innovation right there." I don't see a lot of companies like put that in the forefront. Like, hey, here you go. Like, check out this innovation we have in terms of our cooling. I'm like, oh, that's different.
So
So
here's a
I
great
love to see that.
question or a comment. Mordimishita 1754 asks or suggests, what about contrast? Who is the best contrast? It's not only about the brightness. So this is a beautiful thing about these TVs, my friends. They're OLED, infinite contrast. Technically, the contrast is identical. So it's a matter of tone mapping the brightness accurately to preserve color while also keeping the HDR impact. That's what separates them. That's why we do what we do with these content comparisons. Their contrast should be identical. Now, with near dark shadow issues in the G5 still, right? It's a little bit too dark. You can argue that's a contrast problem because you can't see the clarity like you should. But so I think I would say right now the Panasonic is ahead if you're going to include shadow detail as part of your contrast clarity, right? But
Yeah.
the G5 has more HDR impact.
Man, look how much highlight detail you're seeing on the Z95B.
Yeah.
That's so good. And people need to
And
understand this is because the BVM is going to be clipping here. That's not because it should look like that.
so the
It's just
BVM
clipping
hasn't
because
started clipping
it
yet.
has
The
to.
BVM
Right,
hasn't
yeah.
started. Yeah, so
But
you
when
can
it does,
still.
I'm saying, when it
Oh yeah,
does.
yeah.
And so that's what people need to understand. So when it does clip, then we're looking at tone mapping on the other TVs.
Mm-hmm.
And we're keeping the BVM out of it because it's clipping, it's
So
at that point.
here we're talking about color saturation. The
Mm,
Z95B preserves that color saturation more closely to the BVM than the G5.
yeah.
The G5 is going for HDR impact here.
That is quite
And I
a
had to,
difference.
yeah.
I think that's a really good policy. That's really quite the difference.
But again, when we see this, never. this is why we do it though. It's to
Yeah.
push the TVs to their tone mapping breaking point. You're never going to see 4,000 nit content yet, right?
You know what's funny, FOMO? I actually watch this stuff more than I watch movies because I review TVs.
I know, you and me both, right? Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, it's real content for me, okay?
It's enjoyable, right?
Like, yeah, I honestly, I hate to say that, but it's true. I like watch this stuff more than I watch movies because I don't have time for movies because I'm always reviewing TVs. It's like it's a weird thing to complain about, and I shouldn't even complain about it. But it's just the truth, we want to have time to do stuff we want, like watch movies we want, play games that we want, and then like we're
Yep,
always testing stuff we don't really have that much interest in testing. Like we'd love to test movies, but we can't film them. So
that is true.
how otherwise I'd be watching movies all the time and filming while I'm watching movies. But YouTube copyright system hates that, and Hollywood hates that. So
Yeah, they do not
definitely
make it
don't want to
easy.
play a flyer.
Definitely the primary RGB OLED has improved greatly over the WOLED. Before, on
Yeah,
the BVM, you could tell the blue was more saturated. Now, they're pretty close.
that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's great. And these
What's
are
gonna be
really
nice
bright blues.
is bringing a QD OLED into the mix here. Like that's gonna be really nice. I like,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if you still have the Bravier Mark II, but that's something you could set up another time.
So here you're seeing the differences in their philosophy.
Hmm.
G5 wants to go for HDR impact, so it's letting the TV go brighter, but you can lose some color saturation. Z95B does not want to lose color saturation. This is very much the Sony approach.
Yeah,
And you can see that neither of them match the reference monitor, but the color on the Z95B more closely matches it, while the brightness on the G5 more closely matches it. So you got to choose your poison. Which one would you choose, KG? Lose a little color, but get the
ooh, I don't
G5
know.
pop, or go for the Sony look, which is what Panasonic is doing above. It's definitely not as bright. I mean, it's not like night and day, but it's
That's hard to say. I think my eye is drawn to the sand in this shot.
there.
Um, and that's definitely where my eyes are going immediately. So probably that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I like what the Z95B is doing, retaining the saturation in the color.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
not
you're
fading
like
away like it
Chroma,
is on the
right?
G5.
Chroma's preserving
Yeah,
that blue that's
yeah,
similar,
yeah.
but doesn't have the pop of the sand, right? So I love this scene because of that. And speaking of the scene, thank you, Jennifer Gala, for making the scene possible, right? This is
Yeah,
why
thank you.
we use her content, because she's got some good demo material for us to use. Let me see, this one. Okay, we just had that. Let me try another one.
Yeah, and a lot of the things we nitpick and point out, it's like we are only going to see these things when they're side by side next to things. Like
Yes.
In real content, like you're watching that, they're all gonna look really good or close to what it should look like
Hmm.
for the most part.
For the
For the
most
most
part.
part, yeah. I love the way the BVM looks on some of these scenes in Jennifer Gala's content. Just incredible. Like the full screen
And
brightness, man. The full
yeah, I
screen
know.
brightness is off the charts on a reference monitor. Like, wow. I remember seeing one of these in person for the first time. I was blown away. I was like, dude, where's TVs like this?
I know, right?
We don't have TVs like this at all. And then that's why I was excited about the Bravia 9, but I was like, it's not quite like this. It's it's nice. I like the Bravia 9 though.
So more often than not, the scenes are like this. So when you get either TV, so this is slightly bright content, but look how similar they are, right? If I take down the exposure so you can see the specular highlights better,
Yeah.
it's slightly brighter on the G5, but the accuracy is actually there on both, right? So you get the G5 if you want specular highlights to be a touch brighter, but then you guys saw the shadow detail differences. So given those differences, assuming no firmware updates change KG, which one would you choose?
Oh, I'm just a big fan of retaining the color. So like it's one of the reasons why I like QD OLED so much, right? So
so,
anytime I
so
could
none of the
see
above.
any
Yeah, you got the
yeah,
S95F.
anytime well no, it's not that. It's not that. I'm saying between these two. I think anytime I could see a difference in color, I point it out, but I don't seem to see it just watching through monitor, which is again not efficient.
Right.
But I think they both look really good. I don't see too much of a difference between them in that scene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you know why I would choose the Z95B? It's because of the stereo system. I actually use TV audio a lot
Really?
because this TV goes into my upstairs room, and
Yeah.
I don't want to fiddle with a sound bar. I mean, right now I have a
I hear
Q90R.
you.
I'm just using TV audio, like Q90R, but it's really it's really showing its age. I mean, it cannot even properly tone map typical Netflix Korean drama. That's a problem. I mean, for heaven's sake, it's a
Yeah.
Korean drama, ironically from Korea, right? Samsung's homeland, and it didn't do it right. I'm like, oh, come on, man. So I'm looking
That's
for a
crazy.
replacement for that Q90R, and I'd say the Z95B with its audio is in the lead because everything else is so similar. Like, look at this scene, right?
What do you
The
think
color
of
is
the
there.
Bravia 8 Mark II audio? I know we're discussing TV audio, and this is probably just not great, but
So the Bravia 8 Mark II audio is it's
I
acoustic
thought
glass similar to the G5. I mean, I'm
I
not.
think it's better than most. I
It
think
is.
it's
It
not
is.
that bad.
Well, okay. When you say better than most, it is not compared to a TCL or a Hisense, but better than most
Okay,
OLEDs. I'll give
sure.
them that. Right?
I think it's close to the Bravia 9.
You
I
think
was
so?
impressed with the. I think it was. I was impressed with the Bravia 9.
Uh huh.
I get a similar feeling. I do think the Bravia 9 has probably the better sound system. I think the Bravia 9 is the best sound system I've personally heard. It's got the best sound stage. Like no doubt about it. It fills the room. I definitely feel like I probably don't need a sound bar if I was in certain rooms, but or a nice dedicated system. By the way, I just want to say this: if I could afford a dedicated system, if I had the right place for a dedicated system, I would do that over a sound bar any day of the week. Like,
Oh,
let's just
yep.
be real. Like when I say sound bars, it's because I'm a broke boy and I don't know how
Wait,
to
wait,
do
wait,
audio the
KG.
right way. I can't do the
Let's.
audio the right way. Okay.
You had the quad, or you still have it, right? Is that a long-term keeper for
Yes.
you, the quad? Okay.
Yes.
I tell people this all the
I don't
time. If
know.
you could afford the quad,
It's a
don't
loaner, I
upgrade,
think.
hold on to the quad,
I'm not sure.
and that's good to go. I
Yeah.
think the quad is such a good system compared to any soundbar system other than maybe the quadruple subwoofer system from Nakamichi's Dragon craziness, right? Short of that, though, the surround, the audio in terms of dialogue and immersion, the quad is all you need. I think, for most
Yeah,
people.
I do think that's a really great system. I do.
I mean, here's a man willing to spend $10,000 on a very modest B&O sound system. Or are you referring to the TCL
He
QM8K
might be talking about that.
B&O sound system? Now, I have to tell you guys, that QM8K is not loud. I mean, it's loud enough, but before B&O, maybe the generation before or before that, it got louder, but then you didn't have the same balance. So if you want loud, you might want to go
Uh-oh.
with a high sense. If the high sense gets even louder, but it's balanced. So I like the QM8K for
Hey,
that, but this Z95B gets loud and it sounds phenomenal. And it's the first one where you could feel surround with that I did not feel before because I have low ceilings
what?
above. It bounced very well. Oh, did your TV come?
No. It's dimming. The Z95B. You said it wasn't dimming earlier.
Oh,
It's
you're
dimming
right.
now.
It is
Look at
dimming.
it.
Look
I'm
at it.
just
You're
I was
right.
watching it. I was as you were talking. I'm just actively watching it dim away. I'm just like it's.
You know what? Let's hold on to it and see how low. So there you go. I was wrong. Not. It chose to dim now,
Yeah, and if you
and the
could scroll
G5 is
up
not
at
right.
121, I don't know if you got timestamps on your chat, but if you do 121, Dwayne responded to my comment about the heat sinks. I think this would be good to put up for everybody to let them
So
understand like how the heat sinks are working a little bit better.
okay, what is that? Let me see.
121 is the timestamp.
Okay, I'm trying to scroll up and see here. You know what? This doesn't even have a timestamp
He's
on
talking about
the
image retention.
image
Um,
retention. Okay.
yeah, it starts with KG heat sinks assist with eliminating
Is it
image
before is
retention.
it before this one? I'm
No,
trying to
I don't know if it's before or after that.
okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like interrupt
No,
the
no, no,
flow.
no.
I just
That's
think this is actually a really good thing to show on screen.
here we go. So maybe
And
it's
he,
before this one. No, that's not it.
that's SD. That's SD. It's not
SD.
Dwayne.
I'm like, what? Oh, here we go. Found it. I know. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I saw purple. Okay, KG,
So
heat
he
sinks,
did correct this.
assist.
IT is IR. He meant image retention here. So I just wanted to
Okay,
point that out.
so
Yeah.
heat sinks eliminate with image retention faster and making the panel more stable with content. The Z95B is rock solid stable with its cooling system. Image retention goes away faster compared to the G5. So there you go.
Wow,
The
that's
heatsink
incredible.
works. And I
Yeah. Not
think
only the
both
heatsink,
TVs have dim
the
now,
actual
right?
cooling system too, right? That's what he's pointing out. Like
Yeah, yep.
that's awesome. Cool.
So
Thank you
yeah.
for pointing that out, Dwayne. I love to learn about that stuff. So anytime they make new adjustments to that, it's kind of cool.
And right here, both of them have dimmed to the same level. Notice that? I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, right, maybe we're holding this for 7 minutes now. So at the end of the day, yeah, I guess it kind of both. And to be fair, if I played sports content on the G5 for 20 minutes, it would not dim. It's because they recognize this is static content. That's why they're dimming. But if it's bright sports content, then unlikely. Pay attention, guys. Yeah, pay attention. Wait, talking to me? Or talking to the chat?
What's great about what we could do, FOMO, is we can teach people at the same time as demonstrate, you know? And
Oh,
so
yeah.
whenever we can learn and when we learn things on our own, we can teach them to other people. And I think that's gonna further like grow our community in general because I think that's the greatest part about what we do is we can teach people like what we're actually seeing and what's going on. So when we learn from people that know more than us, like Dwayne and Classy, for example, they study this stuff, right? They're ISF level calibrators. They know what they're seeing. So I think whenever we can teach you that in layman's terms a little bit more, that's a great thing. So I hope we do that for you. I really do genuinely hope we do that for you.
So we're going to do some SDR brightness here. So I'll turn off the reference monitor. I don't think you guys want that on. Let me see. Am I in?
Yes, this is exactly what we need, a hot dog eating contest comparison. I've been waiting for this my whole entire life. I
I knew
like this
you
is the
were.
perfect
I'm here for you, man. I think
like
this is
this is the
SDR. Just
sports
double
I
checking.
watch. No, I'm just playing. But no, you know, skin tones? You can see some skin tones, SDR skin
Yep.
tones right here.
And yes, I think this is SDR. Excellent.
Now, I do want to push back I know you push. You don't push. I don't want to. I don't want to make this sound any. This is not directed as a insult to you. I'm saying you show vivid mode in sports a lot. I
Or
think
standard.
this is
It depends.
yeah. One thing I think that skin tones can be important in sports. I really do. So I personally don't watch in
So
vivid
what do you
mode.
watch sports in? Filmmaker mode,
I,
really?
I watch it. No, I see. I watch it in like a custom mode.
Okay,
So
so how
like
about
I
standard?
make my
Would you
own
watch it
mode
in
out of like
standard?
I take filmmaker mode or movie as a base, probably
Uh-huh.
movie because I'm gonna add some motion interpolation in there, especially if we're watching like football or something.
Mm-hmm.
I will definitely make sure that I just crank the brightness up if I'm in a bright only if I'm in a bright room. If I'm in a dark room, I'm
Oh,
fine watching sports. And
yes.
you know, it's not gonna be blinding me in a dark room. But if let's say like I'm in a bright room and I just want to make sure I see the colors the way they're intended, the grass the way that it looks in real life. But again, my eyes are used to this kind of thing. If your eyes are not used to this kind of thing, my advice might suck. Honestly, you might think my advice is terrible because your eyes are used to this cooler color temperature if you're in standard vivid all the time. So
Right.
I do think that watching sports in vivid and standard, while you think it adds the most brightness, and a lot of times it doesn't actually. And Classy has measured this before, and like we've kind of done some side by side comparisons where we were able to get like filmmaker mode to be brighter than vivid mode. And so that's one thing that you can do if you tweak it and you want to.
So let's
Like you
talk
can
about
crank
that.
the max brightness.
Why is vivid mode appear to be brighter? It's because blue and green can get brighter.
Yes.
And so when you suck out the yellows, you can definitely get brighter. And so, but like you said, well, if you want it to be accurate as possible, then vivid mode, once you get rid of the blue and the green, that it will not be brighter, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop people from just going straight to vivid as is. And to your point, right? Everyone has a subjective preference. So for those who don't want to touch the color temperature beyond what's available. So on the LG, right? They don't have warm or whatever. They have this weird color depth. Like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't say warm or whatever. So let's just leave it at, I think it was 70 is the standard. That was the default. But I will choose dynamic only to show you this is what LG wants to show off, is its super brightness with that
Yeah.
gamma, right?
And when we're talking about like what vivid mode's doing and what standard mode's doing, I'm not here to crap on vivid mode, okay? I'm not. but
Oh,
but what I'll
there's a
say is
line of
like
vivid mode lovers. They're going to take
when
you on,
you
right?
when you load up that color setting, right? And when you load up a lot of the things that's in vivid mode in general, like sharpness is cranked to like 75, things like that. There's going to be artifacts, there's going to be things that kind of deteriorate the image, like we've got somebody saying
Mm-hmm.
in chat, and it's just going to create things that aren't there in real life. So you're making the experience kind of worse for yourself. You don't have to have it that way. And that's why I think teaching people about that is a really good thing, because before, I got into TVs, I would do that. And so I know a lot of people do that. And it's just one of those things. It's like, man, like
Oh,
that yellow belt, for example, like look how
look how
pops
vibrant
out.
it is.
Yeah. It's just cool for people if that's what they want to see.
Okay, wait. Here's the skin tone. And we're going to go to Filmmaker to see what it should be, right? So they're very similar, actually. That brightness in these TVs. So I think you're okay with sports in the Z95B if you're watching in vivid or dynamic mode. But I'm going to put the Panasonic in Filmmaker to see
Yeah, just play with
which,
the settings, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
reset it afterwards. And just see if you can get it to become very similar brightness levels.
Okay, so
Because I
so
think
let's
people throw
start
it
with cinema.
into, yeah, because you could throw it into like filmmaker mode or movie mode, and of course it's going to be dimmer because by default it's meant to be dimmer, right? Like we watch
Right.
SDR, and if you're going for reference SDR, then it's going to be dimmer. That's just how reference SDR is. So when you crank up the brightness level, you could do that if you want to, and I bet you can get it very similar. I could be wrong. There's some TVs that when you put it in vivid or dynamic, it can get way brighter, but a lot of that is just
You
perceptual.
know, the Z95B is proving your point.
Yeah.
This is, so we're in SDR. It's in Filmmaker mode, as you guys can see. I haven't touched the color. It's still the warm 2. That's Filmmaker mode on standard, or that's the out of the box. I think the brightness is close. Not, I mean, it pops more, right? The red on the
Yeah.
CH is quite
It's
impressive.
terrible. On the
Well,
G5,
it's
like
terrible.
what is happening to his nose? This man's nose does not deserve
Okay,
that.
okay. So he looks like a drunk. You got me there. Okay, let's look at a
I
commercial.
feel really bad for that guy right now. The 2023 hot dog eating contest winner is like,
Oops.
oh man,
Oh, I lost it. Okay. Okay, let's try that again. Yeah, the hot dog winner with his red nose, he looks like a drunk, right? Okay.
it was looking like some skin tones from some special settings I tried out one time. Just not great, you know.
All right, let's see. Is this football? Tennessee at Alabama? Yes. Hopefully NCAA doesn't come. Oh, no, it's
Oh
baseball.
yeah,
Okay, close enough.
don't mess around with that.
Okay,
I've been
vibrant
flagged.
green? Oh, no. SEC is too aggressive.
Yes.
Wait, well, you think the Buffalo Bills will be a bit more lenient? How
No,
about X Games? We all love
maybe,
X Games, and they want
maybe.
all the exposure they can get. All right.
You'd be surprised though. I get copyrighted
Okay,
for some weird stuff.
which one would you prefer? I think I would watch the G5 in vivid mode. X Games.
I don't know. It depends. Like on camera, I could see why you say that.
That's how it looks like, right?
Yeah,
Now,
it's
this
blue
is, many
though.
people are going,
That's
wait,
the
what
thing.
happened
Is
to the.
blue. Like
Hmm.
like the ground is blue.
It is
That
blue.
I would hate that
You would hit, because you want, because that is
because
an advanced
I
font,
would
right?
know that the ground is not blue.
All right, now the ground is blue on both of them.
Oh goodness, it's not as
There you
blue.
go. Not as blue. That is true.
Yeah,
It's a different white point, right? I like how the Panasonic does their dynamic mode. So this is dynamic mode of the
yeah.
Panasonic. There is no vivid. I, at default, right, I haven't tuned it to look better. This is how it is out of the box. I think it looks pretty good. I would take the
Uh,
Panasonic for sports. Absolutely.
yeah. Dwayne said change gamma 2.2 instead of 1886 on the Z95B.
All right, let's see. Yep, it's 2.2 currently. So,
Okay.
and that's default. I didn't touch it at all. So they may have changed. I did. Yeah, it's SDR. So it's 2.2.
But this is now dynamic, right? Maybe
This
it's
is, they're
different in
both in
filmmaker
dynamic.
mode.
So vivid mode
Okay.
on the G5. Let me double check. And I'm gonna get yelled at. Oh, he's set up. Yep, vivid mode.
You know what? Vivid mode is actually not too bad looking. Not saying it's
Huh,
good, but it's not too bad looking is the Sony Vivid mode. It seems like they try to be a little bit
they
more
do.
natural than the others, yeah.
And Panasonic seems to be doing the same. It's doing that.
Okay.
Wait, but
That's
let's look at the
cool.
hot dog guy. Let's see if, because you're right. That skin on the hot dog is, yeah. See, they both look incredibly saturated. Let me turn this up. There you go.
Yeah,
I
man.
think the colors
Lobster
are. I mean,
people.
I would not reject
Lobster.
either TV.
Yeah.
What was that? What were you saying?
I said lobster people.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
radiation. That's right. Dynamic mode, vivid mode, radiation mode.
Do you have a verdict so far on what we've seen G5 versus Z95B? Like
I do.
everything in the perspective.
So here's my verdict. For me personally, I see that the G5 hits the HDR Impact. That has been their priority in the off season, right? That's where they put the resources to tune it, the high end. So high end meaning the anything above 500 nits. They're really focused on the HDR Impact. They forgot
Okay.
everything else below a 1 nit. So below a nit, they go 1. Oh, so they need to address the accuracy. And it's the accuracy. I don't think it's a limitation of the technology, obviously, because Panasonic could do it. And then second is there's that funky desaturation of colors below 1 nit that the Panasonic doesn't have. So that's another software thing we need to address. Panasonic felt like they took their time to do everything, and it was very considered what they decided to cut out. They decided to cut out absolute HDR impact in return for color saturation. They want to preserve that a bit more aggressively as you get brighter and brighter, but in real content up to 1500 nits, the two will be identical. I don't even think the G5 would have that advantage. We saw the G5 have that advantage when you go over 2500 nits, Jennifer Gala's content, maybe Alpha, literally a handful of movies above 1500 nits. But
Yeah.
you guys aren't even going to see that difference. So below 1500 nit, 0 to 1500, the Panasonic kills it. And the G5, when it's at its best, matches the Z95B. At its worst, you got shadow detail issues. You might have a green tint issue if the skin tone is off. So given that, most people, and we're not talking gaming, most people would benefit from just pure image quality. I think they would enjoy the Z95B more. However, I think the biggest difference will be the snappiness of the Fire TV. I find it to be slightly laggy.
Yeah.
And that could drive you nuts more than image quality. Now, if you're using a plug-in Apple TV, Chromecast, no issue, right? Like my Chromecast, snappy as heck, no problem. This one, maybe it's just waiting for the cache to get caught up, and I don't know. But what are your thoughts on that, KG? I mean, if the image quality is the same, given that,
pull up the menus at the same time.
Okay.
Not that menu. The settings menu. Pull up those at the same time. I'm curious because the LG for me, sluggish. I don't like LG OLED in terms of the WebOS interface. I think their WebOS interface is not that great. I do like LG OLED. It sounded bad. It's like I don't like LG. I like LG OLEDs. I don't like their interface.
So let's pull up that.
That's what I'm saying.
So you're talking about the settings like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this little
there's like
cursor
this slight
thing
delay. There's a slight delay. There's a cursor thing, and then there's just menu diving. Like you have to go through all these advanced settings, and then you have to go to another setting, and then you have to go to another setting. It's not as straightforward. So like Sony, you can just go into picture settings. It's all right there. Samsung, you can go through the picture settings. It's all right there, and it looks like this is kind of like the middle ground. This is kind of similar to what Sony's doing, honestly. You know what I mean?
Well,
like, look at all these hidden. It's not hidden, but it's just it's buried. It's there's so much menu diving. It's kind of annoying. It's just very.
That's actually
that's me, a TV reviewer, talking about somebody. I'm diving through settings all the time. But if you're not diving through settings all the time, take that out of the equation.
Let me try and match the brightness of.
Okay, so it does seem like Dwayne's saying menu diving is worse on the Z95B compared to the G5, so not a big deal for him. So, all right, I have not seen the Z95B, so
I think
I haven't
the UI,
had hands on it.
The UI,
but it does look sluggish. I tell you, it looks, and that was my takeaway with Fire TV. I hate Fire TV OS in terms of how sluggish it feels. It just feels like it's designed that way. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like it doesn't matter how fast you have, like how much RAM you have, doesn't matter. It seems like every Fire TV device that I get has some sort of input delay.
Right. I'm going to try and compare the live, quote unquote live TV, right? I think it's called LG TV.
What do you think of the new remote on the LG?
It annoys me there's no input button.
It's worse, right?
Otherwise,
it's a worse remote. Let's just say it. It's a worse remote.
Okay, first of all, I found the other remote to be easier in the hand. If we're talking ergonomics, like, wait a minute, how is this more ergonomic? I mean, it's flatter, but I thought it felt kind of cool. I thought they would just change this, but instead they made it into a cheaper remote. So yeah,
we went backwards, and there's this huge bar on the bottom that serves no purpose other than to hold the battery, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm in a really complaining mood today. I'm sorry, guys.
it's not perfect, man.
I only got like 3 hours of sleep. Blame that.
Playing video games, were you?
No, I was working on my Bravia 8 Mark II video. I was up all night doing that. It was fun.
All right.
Um,
Let me see.
that's gonna be tomorrow. I
Hour
think
and a
it'll go
half.
live tomorrow.
Well, what are your thoughts, given what you saw and kind of like our discussion?
Yeah,
Which TV
I
would you
think.
choose? So I would choose the Z95B, straight up. But for video gaming, I think that's the dedicated one that needs a lot more testing. But just seeing what I see,
Well,
I
I'm
would choose the
excited for that.
Z95B.
I'm
You are,
excited
you're
for
not.
gaming. Yeah, I am
Uh-huh.
excited for gaming because I've heard very great things about Panasonic in game mode. So I am definitely looking forward to looking at that. I've never seen a Panasonic OLED in person, like in terms of hands-on. I've seen it in person. Obviously, I've seen it at CES and stuff like that. But like in terms of having it in my home, I've never had one. So I'm really excited to go into the gaming aspect of it. I do feel like that's more of my wheelhouse. But when we are going to look at that, that's going to be exciting. What we saw
So,
today, like if you're asking me like what I thought from what I saw today, they're they're really good. I mean, they're both interesting in terms of how they're handling things. I'm not liking what the G5's doing with like near black scenes and some of the shadow detail issues that you showed like with Game of Thrones. I feel like that could be something that creeps up when you're watching movies, as most movies do have scenes like that. Like, let's be real, most movies have more scenes like that than bright scenes. So
yep.
um I think that part of it is really important. So I think for
Okay.
that reason, I'm leaning towards the Z95B.
I have no idea what he's talking about. He said, hold down the home button, it allows input selector. So I held down this button right here. I thought this was the home button. It has literally a picture of a home. Am I
Yeah,
holding down the wrong
there's
button?
two home buttons. It's dumb. Like, let's
Okay,
just
so
call that
what
out.
is he referring to? Is is that a home button? Like, is that
So
it?
that is the home hub. So like this is like the
So
smart
I hold
home
that one
button.
down to get to
And I
the
think you hold
HDMI?
that one
So
down. So that
is that
no,
it?
so
Is that
that
what he's
no, you
talking
hold
about?
the other one down and you should have the input selection pop up, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah, just
that's
like
it.
that. Yep.
Okay,
But that
so
still sucks. Like,
okay, and okay, so here's the thing that sucks.
yes.
And I now I see it, right? Guy who
Hold
buys
down
a
the home
TV,
hub button. Yep.
guy who buys a TV from LG. Is this intuitive? You hold
No.
down the home button. I mean, it makes it sound like everyone knows, especially when you have literally two home buttons, the one here and the one here, both a picture of a home. So now I get it. I will do that. So as a reviewer, it helps me. Thank you, Dan or Mags. Does
You
it
know
help
what's
LG?
wild? Yeah, you know what's wild about that, FOMO,
Hmm?
is we saw Samsung take the input button off and everybody complained about it. And then LG was like, let's do the same thing. It's like, what? What are we
Yeah,
doing?
I don't get it.
I don't understand it. Input button
Because
should be on
holding
the
it down
remote.
is not intuitive.
Yeah, it
It's
should just
it's
be on the
not a
remote.
paradigm. It's not a navigation. And I'm holding it down. It's not working now. And now I have it permanently zoomed. I don't know how to get out of here.
The home hub, FOMO. So there's the home hub button
Okay,
and
so
there's
this
the
is the home
home
hub.
button.
So this is
So you
the
gotta
home
get out
hub.
of this. You gotta get out of this screen. So just be
This is
on
the
a
home.
normal screen. Just be
This
like
is the
on
home.
any kind of content. No,
Oh,
you can't be
oh,
on this
okay.
screen.
The, so the input channel doesn't work. You're telling me
I
the input. Okay, so here we are,
I think that's how
right?
that works. So if you hold down the home hub button now,
While I'm
you'll
here.
have the
Okay,
input thing pop up.
so
There you
that's
go.
it. All
Yep.
right. Let's see. Okay, see how counterintuitive that is.
Very.
Whoever at engineering UI thought of this should have been fired. Like, how do they find it acceptable? It's not intuitive. Sometimes, and Samsung is not better, by the way. There's no input button on the Samsung. But what
Right.
Samsung has done is there is a home button, and you have to navigate through home, and it's a lot of clicks. And I don't like that either. So we had a poll that compared all the UIs, normal people, not technical people, just
Right.
housewives and non-technical males and females of all ages. They ranked WebOS dead last. Second to dead last was Samsung. And both are like, what happened? We spent so much money on these UIs. And they're like, who did this when you spend that much money? Well, it was all engineering. And
That's a good point.
whereas
Argue, yeah.
we had the team from Google who developed the Google OS. And they're like, all of our developers work closely with normal people to see how they see the screen. And the Fire TV team said the same thing. And of course, we didn't get access to the Roku team, but Roku is dead simplest, right? But
Yeah.
notice the difference on the US side, they're very focused on the user. It feels on the Korea side, they look down on the user and they assume everyone should be engineers. And if you're not smart enough, just too bad. And to me, that's incredibly arrogant.
Yeah, you know why they do it, and I think this is actually why they do it. And somebody chimed in saying pretty much that there's no input button anymore for good reason. They want you to go to the home screen because that's where all the advertisements are. Bingo. That's it.
Yep.
Smart.
And
Yeah.
Joan Lade, is there anything bigger than 65-inch this year? Yes, 77.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No 83 though. That's just too bad. Okay, I think any last questions, everyone? We'll hit it. Otherwise, here, let me get to the input button.
I got a question for you, FOMO. Do we know if the 83 inches are going to be at the shootout?
Dwayne will tell you that if he's still here. Dwayne is the head honcho organizer. I'm just there to do the stream and entertain you guys.
Because I think the 83-inch S95F versus the 83-inch G5 would be kind of cool to see. Because I don't think, dang, it's not going to be there. Okay. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up then. It's not going to be there. But if somebody could do that, that'd be cool. I don't have the space, so I can't do that. But if somebody could ever do that, maybe we can get Brandon to do it. You think we can get Brandon to do it? Like he's got all the big TVs, right?
Yeah. I think he'll do it. I honestly think he'll do it. Yeah. Okay, now I have my G5 permanently on Zoom. The guy who told me to hold down the home button, hold down the wrong one, and now it's all zoomed up. So how do I get out of this Zoom, guys? This happened to me last time. It is so annoying.
Oh, dang. I was wondering. I was like, this looks different. What'd you do?
Yeah. So like, is my TV broken now? See, so it's not intuitive how you get out of Zoom.
Yeah.
I push back, nothing happens. Maybe if I hold down that Zoom button again, it'll go back.
So weird.
Okay,
yep,
so
there you go. Change the 150%.
Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. So I had to push that little arrow out. Again, not intuitive.
What button is that? I didn't even know that was a button.
I shouldn't even tell you what the button. It's the home button. It's the other home button. Okay, now let me ask you this. Is it intuitive that you press the home button, the other home button long enough, it zooms in? Like there's nothing here that indicates the holding down the other home button, it zooms you in, right? So you have two home buttons, the one on top, one on the bottom. If you hold the one on the bottom, it zooms in. You hold the one on top, you have access to the input,
the two most Googled things about this TV is going to be like, how do I get out of Zoom mode? And where's my input button? Like that's going to be the two most Googled thing. I should actually just make a video about it, honestly.
Prices, well, at launch right now, the 65-inch is like $3,300 or something like that, $3,400. So don't get the Z95B at this price, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I get it when you get probably after Prime Day, it'll go down, maybe September, October. I expect it will be very soon. What the heck? I'm on a different, I'm like, wait, this blue is killing me. Am I still in vivid mode?
I think you are.
Yeah.
I wasn't even really paying attention to that part because I was looking at chat, but yeah, you're still in vivid mode. Just those blues are too much.
A bit too much.
A bit too much.
There we go.
Whoa. What'd you do? It looks different.
Yeah, this is interesting, isn't it?
I think you did something.
I don't know what I did.
I don't know. Does not look right.
Something's not. Let's reset. Do a quick reset on both TVs.
So let's go back to just talking about something then while you're doing this. I was going to ask about prices. So you're talking about the Z95B being a little bit pricey right now. But what do you think of the Bravia 8 Mark II? how aggressive that is with pricing. Like, oh my gosh, like
Well, look
that
at how it's
shocked me,
priced
man.
in
I've
Europe.
never seen it. I've never seen it. Like, we've never seen Sony price a flagship OLED TV cheaper than the competitors this early
But
too. It's
but in
crazy to me.
Europe, it's currently that's what the price is in Europe. I think Sony well, remember the rumor that Sony would price it like, competitively, and then they didn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I do remember what they said. They didn't they say like it's gonna be cheaper than the A95L?
Yeah, and then suddenly it isn't.
Yeah.
I think I'm in SDR. That's why it's like that.
I'll say this, man. It's way better than the A95L. I
Oh, I
think
think
so
so too.
anyway. Yeah. I mean, just my time with this TV. Yeah, I've been pretty wowed by it. I have it next to S95F. I think it's such a good job.
Just so you guys know, we're in SDR mode, in case you're wondering. Whatever happened, my splitter got confused, so now it's
Yeah,
SDR.
I figured something was up like that.
Yeah, but I think we're at the end of the stream, so
That's all good.
wait. I'm not judging anything over recording, just speaking. Oh, hey, get that Panasonic home and enjoy it for 30 days and then return it to Amazon if you don't like it. That's the way to go because at this point, it's not on display anywhere, unfortunately, right? So this is
Yeah.
another thing. What do you think about Panasonic selling only through Amazon? People
Yeah.
rely on reviews heavily now. I
Right.
mean, to even get an idea of how the Panasonic performs, you can't see it in a store.
When I'm looking at like that situation, it has to be like this is how they're able to get back in the US, right? Otherwise, why wouldn't you put yourself in other retailers? Like that would be so smart. But it has to be some sort of exclusive deal. That's why they're able to bring it back. Like I do think Amazon's probably funding them a lot somehow, right? There's probably some backdoor deal. I don't know anything, so
Right.
don't accuse me of knowing anything because I don't. Allegedly, this is what I suspect is going on. So, like I said, I don't know anything, but that's just my theory. And at first, we heard Costco, right? We actually see them carrying the mini LED last year at a really competitive price, way cheaper
Hmm.
than Amazon. And I was like, where's the OLED? Why is that not in Costco? Because Costco has all the flagships. So I would love for Costco to pick this up. I don't know if they are. Do you know anything on that front? Or is it just going to be Amazon, the Z95B?
They haven't told me anything about Costco, but they reserve the right to be open-minded about it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask them. But for sure, Amazon is the start of the launch. And FOMO wasn't, Corey wasn't talking about us, talking to someone else in chat. But you know who's talking about us? Star Rider. What? End the stream before they change their minds again. Wait, did I change my mind? So let me repeat my closing thoughts, and you guys can tell me if I change my mind. The G5, slightly better HDR impact, struggles against accuracy, near black, shadow detail, still too dark. Now I discovered that there's a loss of color saturation in the blue on the G5 that wasn't there before because I didn't look at it closely enough. Panasonic did not suffer from that. However, on the brightest scenes, over 2000 nits, the G5 had better HDR impact that more accurately reflects the brightness while preserving a little bit more color in the yellows than the Z95B. But overall, as a whole, I find the Z95B to be the better TV
Hmm.
from top to bottom. But if you only focus on brightest highlights, bright scenes, Jennifer Gala, G5 is slightly better. But overall, I think Z95B takes this one. We're not going to talk about WebOS. We're not talking about gaming,
Yeah.
just the content. But is that important to you? If all you watch is sports and news, both TV are going to look identical, honestly.
Yeah.
Then I'd take the Z95B for the slightly louder audio that has surround, whatnot, right? But so I think, well, what are your thoughts on the stream? Because I know KG is going to have his chance with the G5 and the Panasonic, and he may come to a completely different conclusion after more firmware updates, right? But at
Yeah.
this stage, based on what we saw today, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really think the Z95V has been the star of the show. Compared to the G5, I do think that the G5 shows that it can maybe push a little bit more brightness here and there, but I
Mhm.
don't think it's by much. And like I saw the out of
Yeah.
box measurements in terms of the brightness levels. It's wow. that Z95B actually, I believe, in the 25% window was the highest among all the flagships so far that were
Nice.
measured. So that's pretty impressive. Um, so it definitely seems like they're both really great TVs. You can't go
They are.
wrong with either. But if you're very critical, the very critical side of me says Z95B right now. But I literally have the G5 in box, not even unboxed yet, behind me. So I haven't seen both TVs yet in person.
And also, consider this too, because SD mentioned something that I don't even think about is, will it fit into a low profile wall setup? The S95B is definitely the thicker TV. It's the heavier TV, it's the thicker TV. It's designed with a passive cooling system in it. It's got
I think you
a
said the
robust,
S95B, but you
oh
meant
yeah,
the
Z95B.
Z95. I just wanted to throw it out there because I know you would
Oh,
laugh
these
at that.
guys, you're right. Like that's the
Yeah,
S95B, you're right. Okay, Z95B. Like, why he's pulling the old the old Samsung.
yeah.
The Z95B, thicker, bigger, cooling system for the more robust audio system, right? All of that. So it may not even fit your desired aesthetic, right? So at the end of the day, maybe that ends up being the deal breaker for a lot of people. It's not the brightness, not the shadow detail, but the G5 is a more sleek, aesthetically pleasing TV, but it doesn't have the audio system on the Z95B. So if you need audio, then
Mm,
Z95B is for you. I'm seeing that has a silver edge, and it does not. So the edge on the Z95B is a darker metallic edge, unlike the G5, which some people complain, like the G4, that they can see the chrome trim on the frame, whereas the Z95B doesn't have that problem. It's like a darker, it's definitely a darker titanium metal that blends better with the frame. So if that bothers you, I think Wendy's told me she's had a couple of people return the TV. Nothing more than I can't unsee the bright metal frame. And I never even
oh
thought of that
wow.
as an issue.
Yeah. I remember reading somebody's review last year and they were like killing that part of the TV. And I was like, dude, that's been the design for like years. I don't know. You're just now noticing that?
Yeah, it's like
Like they've had
I'm
that trim for a while now. Um, but yeah, I guess that's how it is. It's gonna stick out for some people. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it either, but it's not gonna bother me because I watch in
yeah.
mostly a dark room. But I think maybe it would bother me more in a bright room.
And to those who are saying, "Oh, the TVs look identical," it's because it's an SDR mode. All these great
Yeah,
OLEDs have mastered SDR. You're not going to
yeah,
see any differences in SDR.
right.
So yeah. And how is gaming on the Z95B? I'll tell you right now, I can predict it. If I'm going to game on the PS5 Pro, it's going to look great. The QM8K looked fine on the PS5 Pro. I think you're going to need a lot more thorough gaming of more games, which KG does. I do not. KG's got a nice selection of games.
Oh yeah.
PS5, Xbox. You have the Switch too, also, right? So you could play with that.
Yep.
1,000 clicks. How many clicks was it? Vincent did one where you had to do so many
Oh my
clicks to get.
God, it's so many
Oh yeah,
clicks.
so
It's
have fun with
crazy,
that, my
dude.
friend.
Yeah, it's very sensitive. I think it's like 10 nits each click. It's wild. I don't know. I'm not sure what Nintendo's doing there.
And you're welcome, Corey. Thank you very much for being here. So before we end, let's ask KG, what's coming up? What's happening
Oh, wait,
this
before
week,
we
next
end,
week?
let's make sure we catch you up on your super chats too.
Oh yeah, do I have another one? Oh yeah, I got a super
I think you
chat.
do.
Thank you.
I think you have
There we
some.
go. Hey, last super chat of the day. Thank you so much. Aishal Shamsi 2998. Hi FOMO KG, love you guys. I watch all my content with MadVR Envy. Ooh. I reverse tone map to your TV brightness and color gamut custom HDR. What's your advice for the S95F for LG G5? So, in my opinion,
Wow.
I don't know that the MadVR Envy. Now, so if Dwayne's still here, he's also played with the MadVR Envy. I do not have the MadVR,
I don't
but
either,
I'll
no.
tell you that the tone mapping on these TVs are phenomenal, and MadVR was designed to tone map bright content onto a projector, because projector tone mapping, I think the JVC has the best one, but still with MadVR, you can do better. You can push TV to its limit while preserving shadow detail, all that stuff, HDR, right? That's where it suffers. But the tone mapping on the S95F and G5 I found to be already phenomenal to begin with. So I don't know why you would use the MadVR Envy. I'll leave it at that because I think the MadVR Envy, its biggest update recently was motion processing. It's added a whole other level of motion processing using what, the 4090 GPU? I mean, it's insane. But so it gives you that granular control of motion processing to give you that stutter-free, soap opera-free balance that only a $14,000 piece of equipment can get you.
Wow.
But what are your thoughts on MadVR, KG, if you have one?
I don't have one, so I can't really comment on this. In terms of like the tone mapping differences of the TVs themselves, I remember seeing, the S95D versus the G4 last year. And one thing I liked about the G4 last year, and by the way, I loved the G4 last year. I thought it was incredible. But when I looked at the G4 last year and the C4, one thing I liked that they did is the tone mapping controls, like being able to give you that professional setting where you can kind of customize that part. That's cool. I like that. It seems like the Z95B is very similar in that respect, which is awesome. So I think more tone mapping controls is cool. I realize it's not a priority for the manufacturers because like not many people are going to be playing with that, but
Right.
as an enthusiast, I think it's very fun to play with, and to look at that kind of thing. So if you're somebody that likes messing with that, then consider that, because the Samsung only has one setting. It's either active or static.
Yeah.
And active is dynamic tone mapping.
Yes. And I like the simplicity of that, but you're right, there's nothing in between.
Yeah.
QM8K versus Z95B. Well, size. Same size, obviously, Z95B, but it's a bit more expensive. For that price, you can get a 98-inch QM8K. So instead of a 77-inch Z95B, you can get a 100-inch or almost 100-inch, 98-inch QM8K. So 77 versus 98. For normal content in a moderately lit room, I'd go with a larger TV. I mean, here it goes again. Have you changed your mind? Z95B or QM8K, but larger, not same size. Obviously, Z95B is a better TV, given the same budget.
Same answer. It depends on how far you sit, right? It really
10
does.
feet. I'm going to say 10 feet because average living room, let's say 10 feet. So you can get a 98 or 85
77-inch, 10 feet is too far to me. I'm not gonna like a 77-inch at 10 feet. That's just too far. So I'd probably go with a bigger QM8K. Why not though an 83-inch G5 or an 83-inch S95F? That's probably what I would go with if I was 10 feet. I think 10 feet, 83-inch probably could work for 10 feet, don't you think? I mean, I don't know. It should.
So what I found, and I don't know if you were at the CES 2 years ago where TCL had the moving sofa.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. So they have 98-inch.
Yeah.
And your
I actually ran into you there. I remember seeing you in there.
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
What's FOMO?
And what I found was 7.5 to 8 feet away from an 98-inch is literally where I sit in a movie theater, right? Because if I do this, right, I get a sense of the immersion I get where my preferred sitting in the movie theater. I'm like, wait a minute. I normally sit this far in a movie theater anyway. I'm completely fine at 7.5 to 8 feet from 98-inch. Now, I wouldn't sit that much closer, but that was like spot on for me. So 10 feet, 115 inches. But definitely, I could not go smaller than 98 from 10 feet because that's a 1-to-1 ratio, which I think right now is like the bare minimum. 10 feet, 100-inch, 8 feet, 85 inches, approximately, right? 7.5 feet, 77-inch. I mean, you don't want to get smaller than that to get that immersion.
Wow. Yeah.
So
I've seen a 115-inch TV at the TCL suite and stuff, like where they were showing it off, but never seen it in person. So I can't tell you how the immersion feels other than that, because it was huge. Like, let's be real. It was this 115-inch TV in this small room in a hotel room. So do you remember seeing that FOMO in the TCL suite 2 years ago? when they had the 115-inch in there in that room. I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't remember. You know, 2 years is such a blur.
Yeah. I
I
think it
don't
was 2
remember.
years ago. I don't know. Maybe it was
You know,
last
someone had a
year.
good question, which was, did we see a QM9K at the
No,
CES this year? I
no.
don't remember. I saw the X11K. I did not
It
see a
was the
QM9K.
X11K, I think was that.
Yeah, I
That
saw
was
the
the top
X11K.
end there.
Yep. But
I don't even know if the QM8K was there, was it?
it was in the back room where they were
Yeah,
showing off the backlight, comparing the
right.
different backlight terms of 23-bit, whatever. So it was in the back room, but the QM9K
Yep.
was not in the back room. It just had the QM6, QM7K, and QM8K. And then they showed off out in the front the X11K, but I don't remember seeing the QM9K. But hearing rumors about it last fall from Flat Panels HD, and then confirming that the C9 in Europe this year is what the QM9K would be if it came to the US. And so the question that is still out there is whether we'll get a QM9K in the US or not. And I haven't gotten confirmation, and TCL will not confirm until it's ready to launch. So we'll see it when we see it. So, all
Yeah.
right. All right, everyone.
Hey,
Well,
that was fun, man.
it was fun. Hey, thank you for
Thanks
keeping me
for
company.
inviting me, man. I appreciate it.
And I know
Gotta
you're
do this
doing
more
more
often, yeah.
streams, right? You're gonna do more
Yeah.
streams this year. You're
I'm trying
gonna get in
to.
touch with the people.
I'm hoping to. Yeah. I took a little bit of a break this past couple of months from streaming. I did some with Classy. I did. So if you want to see more of me in a live stream format, check out Classy's channel because we're sitting there debating the S95F and he's showing his measurements. So if you're into that kind of thing, definitely check out Classy.
Hmm.
And I guess I'll plug my channel too. Check out my channel.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tech with KG. That
Yep.
is your channel. Tech with KG, and it's in the video description below under Tech with KG. But yes, we'll have more content. I'll do more deep dive with the Z95B. I'll probably talk to the people. Like, well, my deep dive will most likely be, I don't know, maybe a week from now. I'll have a review up before I head out to the shootout in what, 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks? Yeah. But
Yeah. I
the
was hoping Brian was going to be
QM7K.
on with us.
Well,
I
Brian's at
haven't
a
talked to him
graduation.
in
I
a
know,
while. Yeah.
right? Right? It's like, oh, so
Always
let's
good
see.
to see Brian.
The next comparison I'm going to have is the QM8K. That's coming up sometime next week. Finally got confirmation. TCL is going to swap out my 85-inch for a 65-inch QM8K. Then we'll have it against the Bravia 9. Many of you have been waiting for that. But we might get the U7K versus QM7K first because they've shipped me the remote and the power cable and everything that was missing from my U7Q, not K, U7Q. So
That's
U7Q
crazy.
versus QM7K, and then we'll have the QM8K versus Bravia 9, and then the shootout, and it's going to be a very busy July for all of this.
Yep.
And to end it, I'm late. Who's winning?
Well,
Panasonic
don't look at it
Z95B.
now. Yeah, don't
Right.
look at the TVs
They're
now.
looking
They're in
out.
SDR because
It was
we went
close.
into a
Let's just
mug.
say
Yeah.
we're talking about the last 5% of performance. 95% of the time, you cannot tell the difference. Like right now, the 5%, yes, but is that important to you? Watch the video. But I'm going to let KG go. I know he's got a long day. He's got some amazing TVs he has to
Hey,
unbox,
yeah.
right?
I
Right?
do. Yep.
All right. So until next time, my friends, stop the FOMO. Have a
Later,
good
guys.
weekend.